You're tuned to The Drive on your 24/7 home of the Black and Gold. Steelers Nation Radio.
Good afternoon, Steeler Nation, and welcome back inside the beautiful Biltmore in Phoenix, Arizona. It is The Drive. Wes Uhler and Matt Williamson with you here for the next 3 hours on this Monday as things are really picking up here at the
A little different
meetings.
than yesterday, how about?
You called this. So, I'm sure most of our listeners have heard us talk about this a couple times, but if you haven't, Matt has done this a few times. This is
my fourth or fifth.
I was going to say, not as
my second time in Arizona.
Not as extensive as, all the times you've been to the Combine and things
Sure.
that, but you have done this annual league meetings a few times. This was my first time. Yesterday we were here, Matt, for our first show, and it was like us and the New York Jets were the only people here, and it was quiet.
Right.
They didn't even have
There was an empty Texans booth to our left. And
Yep.
yeah, right. That was it.
The media room, I think, had maybe 3 or 4 people in it. Now it's got 30 or 40. We had to struggle just to get waters and coffee yesterday.
Couldn't.
Now there's food and beverages everywhere around this place, so it's really picking up today.
I shouldn't complain, but yesterday I kind of forgot. I made a rookie move, and I'm like, I'll eat like a small breakfast bar before we came over, but we started later. And I come over, I'm like, I figured there'll be a ton of food and coffee. I'll be fine. Nothing.
Matt had to steal a cup of coffee and got yelled at.
I frankly stole it. Yeah, I snuck in somewhere I wasn't supposed to. Didn't realize I was doing something illegal. But I did get a cup of coffee. Went home and just feasted. I was starving. Today's quite the opposite. And frankly, people watching on YouTube might have some idea. But just the hustle and bustle and the people that you're going to hear walking by, and this hallway was pretty quiet yesterday, and everyone's setting up all the stuff behind us. And we walk in here, and there's an awesome breakfast, and NFL Network and ESPN and all these places are set up, broadcasting right next to us. And
Schefter and Florio and Kay Adams and all these people right behind us.
And right in front of us is salon number 4 there. It had all the NFC coaches. When we came out from breakfast, they were all rushing out, and they're everywhere. It's great. It's a pretty cool environment.
And a certain host on this show might have bumped into John Harbaugh in his Giants gear, and he goes, Steelers, you guys are a little bit better with me now. It's all right.
We're back in his good graces.
Have fun in there. But yeah, so it's funny because
these coaches are having a good time. It's pretty relaxed.
You mentioned last year how you and Dale talked to Harbaugh for a few minutes, and he just must be a friendly guy because he saw my Steelers polo. We almost bumped into each other walking in. He was like, "Hey, Steelers, man, hey, come on, we could be friends now. I'm in New York." So yeah, it is certainly picked up here today, and expect that to continue for the next few days. NFC head coaches spoke today at their annual breakfast. AFC coaches will speak tomorrow. Some GMs have spoken here today, and that will continue tomorrow as well. So, Matt, as we like to do a few times a week, and particularly I think when we're at events like this, how about we start with a little news of the day, all the moving and shaking here on the grounds?
Yeah, super quick before you do, I just wanted to paint the picture. Like I mentioned, salon number 4. Really all it is a ballroom. And there are 16 big round tables in there. What do they hold, a dozen seats?
I'd say about
something like that.
It almost looks kind of like a wedding reception.
Yeah, exactly.
And everyone has their table, and here's where you sit.
And there's a sign that'll say, Harbaugh Giants, and there's, Stefanski, Falcons.
Nick Sirianni's the table right in front of us that I can see there.
And anyone, including us, we could have just walked up there and either sat or hovered around Atlanta, Chicago, Minnesota, whoever. And anyone that has credentials can ask them questions or, that's the NFC coaches breakfast. Tomorrow's AFC, and obviously there's more ties to us, but that's what's going on. That's the mornings.
Yes, it was. There was actually, speaking of which, Kevin O'Connell, the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, had his availability this morning.
Okay.
There were a couple Pittsburgh.
I haven't heard any news from things that was said, so I'm excited to get into this.
And I want to potentially dig into this one, maybe kind of separately as its own entity, but it's for our purposes, it should probably lead off this conversation. Kevin O'Connell had great things to say about Brian Angelichio. Of course,
great.
Steelers, Mike McCarthy's first offensive coordinator here, and heading into his first year as the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Brian Angelichio was with the Vikings organization, of course, working under Kevin O'Connell.
Mm-hmm.
And Kevin O'Connell had a lot of great things to say about Angelichio. He thinks the world of him. He was sad to lose him. He thinks it's a great hire for the Steelers.
Great.
And so
Did
that
a Pittsburgh reporter ask
I was
about him?
yes,
okay.
I believe it was both Mark Cabali and Noah Strackbean were there and just asked him a couple questions about Angelichio, and he had nothing but great things to say, and thinks it's a well-earned opportunity for him to step up into a role here with the Steelers.
So we talked about that. It's one of the harder conversations I have every year, and I've never had to do it with the Steelers, where they're building a coaching staff. Like my other outlets, I do this for every team, and it's always really hard to comment on because, frankly, before he was a candidate for the Steelers, I had never heard of Brian Angelichio. He was, and then it comes across, I Wikipedia scouted him, as I like to say.
Yep.
Tight ends coach, and I think he was passing game coordinator. But I mean, like when you see tight ends coach, tight end coach and running back coach are kind of the lowest guy on the totem pole that isn't a graduate assistant type or a quality control guy. It's a great job. Don't get me wrong, but I mean you're an NFL coach, but it's not quarterback coach. It's not offensive coordinator. So immediately you look at him like, that doesn't blow my doors off. But then you realize passing game coordinator. Then you start really digging in and you find quotes from coaches he's worked with and realize that guys like that are so instrumental behind the scenes that even people in our business would have no idea how valuable they truly
correct.
are.
And that's what you like to get into these circles and try and
yeah.
find out. Here was the exact quote, from Minnesota head coach Kevin O'Connell on new Steelers offensive coordinator Brian Angelichio, and I quote, "What always kept coming out was similar philosophical beliefs in how you attack people, specifically in the pass game, but he has a really good understanding of the run game and how to marry the two together. He's been vital for me in the red zone in our 4 years together here, so when you look at it, whether it's situational football, early down success, how you tie it all together, he is prepared for this opportunity. It is long overdue for him to get to coordinate."
Awesome. Exactly what you want to hear. Right. Again, I mean, like, another thing people don't 100% understand, nor do I exactly right now, but, I mean, during the course of the week, they will break down. You think you have all this time. You have 7 games or 7 days between games.
I've told you, Moats used to make that joke all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, everyone in the NFL thinks we've got so much time.
Oh,
you don't. You never have time.
Really
You're always on to the next thing.
Yes, and you're on the team flights. I'm sure you see coaches from yesterday, Tomlin's staff digging into the opponent on the flight home.
We get on the flight, and the video guys are handing out iPads.
Yeah.
I mean, and they're going right to work on the flight.
Okay, you got the Vikings next week. Get ready. There's not time. But anyway, so thus, I mean, a big thing that happens throughout the week is you have this job. Hey, tight ends coach, you have this job. Hey, assistant passing coordinator, you're in charge of red zone, but whatever it is. But
you're in charge of third and long. You're in charge of red zone. You're in charge
to break this into
situational football.
Right. Yeah. And whenever we practice red zone, you basically run the offense. Doesn't mean you call plays on game day, but you built how to attack the Steeler red zone or whatever it is.
You put the hay in the barn.
Yeah, exactly. And everyone is on the same page, and there's a lot of coordination that goes into that. And it sounds like red zone was one of Angelichio's big things.
That's what I took from Kevin O'Connell today, and I'm very interested. We talked a little bit yesterday about the tight end position, Matt.
Yeah.
And maybe this was something we should have brought into the conversation when we were having it yesterday. That's shame on me. But when you look at some of the tight ends that Angelichio worked with in Minnesota, the T.J. Hawkinson's types, the Josh Oliver
and
types.
They went out of their way to go get Hawkinson. They paid it and stole him, or didn't steal, but they made a trade within the division. I mean, that doesn't happen very often.
It feels like it's an exciting time to be Pat Freiermuth and Darnell Washington.
Yeah.
And potentially, as we mentioned, it feels like not with a priority pick or anything, but with those 12 draft picks, I'd be surprised if they didn't come away with another tight end to throw into.
I think they absolutely will, probably in the mid rounds and probably at a value. But it's funny you mentioned. I hadn't thought about that either. I immediately think McCarthy's offense. But
sure,
you're hiring a tight end coach, and it's funny because you mentioned Josh Oliver. He's very Washington-like. I mean, he's one of these real in-line, mash-your-face blocker types that when you face a ton of nickel or
6'5", 270.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to have a long career doing that. Washington's a little more special, like stands out. I mean, there's no tight end in the league like Washington.
No, he looks like a tackle.
Especially when he's rumbling down the field and all those things. But they have basically a Freiermuth type in Hawkinson and a Washington type in Oliver, who's, again, 270. He's one of the best blocking tight ends in the league, and he'll play in this league as long as he possibly can, like a Mercedes Lewis.
Yes, that's a good comparison. And I think those types that he worked with in Minnesota, that kind of pairs well with what he'll have in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, that's kind of where it's going with it, right.
And I think that could be, I think we thought last year tight end was going to be a real strength of the offense, and it
sort of underwhelmed.
It's sort of underwhelmed, I think, just in the grand scheme of expectations with those two and Jonnu Smith coming off of a massive year in Miami.
Maybe you didn't want them on your fantasy team, but overall the room did pretty well.
Yes. But maybe this is the year that it really becomes a true strength and a true matchup.
I'm hoping because I think it's one of the best position groups on the team.
Yes.
And they are going to add something to it. I absolutely believe that.
Yes. So, Matt, that was kind of the biggest thing that caught my eye from the coaches speaking this morning. I do want to get into more of that, obviously, but there were also some of the GMs talking today.
I thought it was just coaches. Okay.
So Omar Khan will speak tomorrow, but some of the GMs are going today, some are going tomorrow. It's not the same exact clear-cut line in the sand like it is for NFC and AFC with the head coaches. I think it's just kind of up to the GM's schedule.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. Kind of like it is at the Combine.
Yeah.
You have your obligations that you have to fulfill, but you could do them within your own timeline or exactly when
I'll knock it out today, too, or I'll talk it out today at 10 or
exactly
whatever.
Right. And so with that.
Is that up at the podium by themselves? That's in a different room,
I believe so. That's in what?
The podium we were at.
Salon 3 down there. Yes, where Matt and I got our pictures doing our best commissioner impressions yesterday. And yeah, it was pretty cool to see it all come to life today. But with that, Andrew Berry saying that the tweaks to Myles Garrett's contract that we saw recently are unrelated to a trade and that they want him to be a Brown for life.
Yeah, this might be a bigger conversation than we have time for this segment because I don't believe it. I really don't. And I guess this is sort of new news, but late last week we didn't get a chance to really dig into this conversation. But my take on it is a little over 1 year ago, Myles Garrett demands a trade. I mean, flat out, wrote this big thing.
Posted it all over social media. Yeah.
I mean, it was no secret whatsoever. And we know he went back and had a ridiculously good year, by the way, which is also influencing here. But he sold the fans the narrative, I believe, in the Browns process. Now, they also gave him a massive, massive contract and made him by far the highest paid defensive player in NFL history a year ago, which he deserves, and he went on to prove he deserved it. But I believe, and there's a little tinfoil hat here, that Garrett had a heart-to-heart with the Browns after he demanded a trade and said, again, I'm guessing, okay, I'll give you a year to prove to me that you guys do have a plan and this is going the right direction. I want to be part of a winner. I understand my legacy. I don't want to be the best pass rusher on one of the worst teams in the league. Right. I've seen this before. I mean, and my hunch is when the contract came out on my Locked On show, we started talking about it, saying this makes him more tradable. The Browns, who, frankly, when Garrett demanded the trade, I flat out said on many airwaves, this is a gift.
It's probably a blessing for them.
They should say thank you because they're in such a bad spot. They can maximize his talent. And I said at the time his value is probably only going to go down. I was wrong because he had a better year and is even better now than he's ever been.
Man.
But if you're the Browns and you just looked at the Max Crosby trade that almost went through and think, what can I get for the better version of that? And Garrett's thinking the same thing. I just set the sack record in games we were never winning. I may have had 5 or 6. I know people hate hearing this, but this was true for TJ in a lot of his career. How many big leads did those guys play with?
Not many.
Not many. Yeah, I always say it all the time. How many times in TJ's career have they been up by 12 in Accushore, Heinz Field, and everyone's waving the towels, and the whole world knows they're teeing off?
And they're throwing the ball.
Not many. And in Garrett's, never. He's probably looking at it if I go to the Lions or the Bills or whatever, and the Browns have to look at it I might get the value of 3 first-round picks out of this guy. I mean, at least 2.
The value is undeniable.
The value is undeniable.
Especially,
so I don't think this story's close to being over.
Especially when you kind of combine it with the Max Crosby backdrop that you just mentioned.
Yeah,
and
right.
I think Crosby's a year or two younger, but Myles Garrett is
He's
that's not a knock.
Step
That's not
above.
a knock on Crosby.
Right,
He's
Crosby's
great.
incredible.
Myles Garrett is the Defensive Player of the Year. He just broke the NFL single-season sack record. And so, yeah, that is an interesting conversation. And you're right. I don't think this story's over as much as Cleveland can, and I'm sure will, try and throw cold water on it.
And that's exactly what they should say.
It's exactly what they should say.
But he can't be possibly thrilled with this. Are you happier now being a Brown than you were 1 year ago when you demanded the trade? How could the answer possibly be yes?
I can't imagine so.
Right.
It feels like you've taken even, not drastically, but more of a step back here than
if I'm
where you
looking
were
through
at last
his
year.
lens, I'm like, we're still at least as far. At least they're turning things into picks, and I see that there's a vision here, and they had a good draft class. So, okay, that's step one. Now we're a year away from being a year away.
Right.
And
They've
last
got no
year,
offensive line.
They have who's the quarterback? I mean,
They've got 5 quarterbacks, Matt. You know what they say about quarterbacks. When you have 5, you have none.
They're distant fourth in their division, even with a really good defense and the best defensive player out there. So he's got to be thinking, man, I'm less happy being a Brown now than I was 1 year ago when I demanded a trade. I mean, that's to me is the logic. Now, that being said, one more layer to this. Think as those around you think. If I'm the Browns, I want to hold this off past the draft, because what I want to do is, if I really intend on trading him, I want to do it after the draft
to get 2027
next
picks.
year's picks.
Yes.
Right. Or even wait to the trade deadline when the Lions are 7-1, the Browns are 1-7, and he's got 12 sacks and is unblockable. I'm like, okay, you want this? Detroit or whoever, Buffalo, whatever. Now we can talk about all kinds of future picks.
That makes a ton of sense.
I don't think the story's close to being written.
I don't either. And there's one kind of more thing here about the contract language of the tweaks that they made to his deal that I want to discuss with you.
Okay.
And we've got to continue.
I didn't 100% understand it, and my only interpretation was why change the. We can get back to it on the other side, but I mean.
Why change the language of the contract if it's not a precursor for something else?
It made me think they had a handshake deal when they signed it originally. Like, I want a year from now, if his agent says a year from now, I want you to change this wording if we choose. Mm-hmm. Again, I'm guessing, but that's the only thing that adds up.
Let's kind of wrap up that discussion. There is some interesting notes here on the language of that contract. We'll also continue. We've got plenty more NFL news of the day with all the head coach media availability and some of the general managers speaking as well here inside the Biltmore in sunny, fabulous Phoenix, Arizona. It is a special 3-hour edition of The Drive, just getting started here on this Monday. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson, Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network.
What's up, NFL fans? The NFL Draft is finally here. And while you might not know who your team is drafting this year, you do know your watch party's #1 pick, Bud Light. The clean, crisp taste that has all the scouts talking. Guess that's why it's been the group's go-to draft beer season after season. Be sure to order a round for the table before your team's on the clock. Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Bud Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Rolling along here, it is a beautiful day in Phoenix, Arizona, all part of our ongoing league meetings coverage here at the Biltmore. As Matt Williamson has said a few times, we're kind of in the back of the facility, in the ballroom area, meeting room areas, but there's all kinds of restaurants. There's obviously a beautiful hotel, a magnificent golf course when we're driving.
Might be more than one,
in here. And Matt has kind
of
put
homes around here are awesome, and the lay of the land's really cool, and
there's like above the Biltmore.
Wait till you see the party tonight, dude.
I'm very excited for the party tonight. I also realized, by the way, I didn't bring any dress socks, so I'm gonna have to procure a pair of dress socks for the party tonight, because all I have is my little Under Armour ankle biters.
You won't get away with those.
I don't think that's going to work at the fancy Biltmore here this evening. But
Right across the street.
Yeah, fortunately there's a mall right across the street from our hotel, so I'm sure I can go find a pair.
It's a fine Mexican outlet we've been to
twice.
My
goodness,
yeah.
Matt and I, in a span of about 18 hours, went to this place
twice.
We went for dinner Sunday and then for lunch yesterday. That's when you know a place has really good food. Got
decent margaritas too.
Got burritos on. Well, you know we do have tendency to try those out as well too if you twist our arm. But yeah, burritos on Sunday, tacos yesterday, fancy. Burritos Saturday, tacos yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Fancy dinner tonight here at the Biltmore. As Matt has said a couple times, there's some areas of this property that are so nice you just feel weird walking through them. You're like,
uncomfortable is the word I
don't
use.
belong here, man.
Right. It's happened to me a few times where I just kind of roam, and frankly, there is security everywhere, but once in a while you just kind of end up in a spot and you're looking around.
Facility.
Yeah, and you're looking around, and it's like, man, there's so much money and wealth and just a different world in this area of the hotel. You know, like I remember, I think it was here, and I was just kind of roaming around, and frankly, I got lost. I'm trying to find back to the car and meet you guys up or whatever, and Jerry Jones and his family walk by.
Yep.
You know, it's just like, okay, you know, and this is what they do every day, but it's unusual.
It is.
It's very cool.
There's a property there's kind of a hill over here beside the Biltmore.
Yeah.
And when we were parking, Matt and I were walking down, and I mean, this house is just picture every I don't know, every Godfather, Goodfellas, Scarface, like mafioso type house.
Sitting up high on the hill for protection.
Sitting up high on the hill for protection, beautifully, immaculately landscaped. And Matt and I are like,
I bet the view's unreal.
I bet you that house is only valued at a couple $100,000.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably not too expensive. But no, we are very happy to be here. The weather's been amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like
especially these mornings are really
it's like 70 and sunny. It's so beautiful. We certainly couple pasty Northeast boys are happy to be down here in the desert and soaking it all in for sure. Matt, I wanted to follow up with you real quick before we get into other news of the day.
Okay.
Just to kind of put a bow on this Myles Garrett conversation for now, because again, I think we both.
Yeah, I think that's to be determined.
I think we both agree that story is not over. So, in the amended terms of his contract, the date for option bonuses to be exercised by Garrett was pushed back from the 15th day of each league year to 7 days before the regular season each year. So basically that means the payment of those bonuses are modified in a way that benefits Myles Garrett. The change would make a trade after June 1st in which the receiving team could split his cap hit over 2 seasons.
That's the whole key.
More palatable
makes it easier
for
the new team to stomach it from a cap perspective. Because like changing his bonus, when you're that good of a player, you're going to get the bonus. And the only way you don't is if you get cut. Nobody's going to cut Myles Garrett. So he's going to get his bonus whether it's now or later. But by putting it on that specific date, which gets confusing, don't get me wrong, it just makes it much more palatable for the new team to digest a massive, massive contract.
Which is important in these type of things,
it
especially
is. I mean,
if you're going to give up.
Big deal.
If you're going to give up 3, maybe 4 premium picks, it can't crush your salary cap too.
No, you still need to be able to compete and do all those other things.
Right. So Matt, that was kind of especially
coming off a pretty good year. Yeah.
Just a decent one. Decent one. That was the kind of first thing that caught my eye. Obviously, with the angle of AFC North and
of course
and kind of a local foe. But
I'll be very honest. I mean, from a Steeler perspective, I don't want him to get traded. I think I would rather him be awesome.
You'd rather him be awesome for a bad team.
Yeah, I'd rather
than
him
the Browns
abuse.
get 3 first-round picks and go find their future franchise quarterback.
They haven't had a great track record over the years of doing the right things with those picks. There's been a lot of drafts, and it's not the same men and people in charge, but there have been many times that they've tanked and had a bazillion picks and never really put them all together. But I would rather he wreaks havoc against Broderick Jones, Cook, the Bengals left tackle, the Ravens left tackle for a couple years, and instead of bringing back the assets he can.
That makes
sense.
What I mean? That makes sense. It does. And so maybe same church, different pew here, Matt. Another name that has been mentioned in a lot of these circles, a lot of these conversations of trade, is, of course, Philadelphia Eagles wide receiver.
Is there news on that?
A.J. Brown. Yes. Eagles general manager Howie Roseman spoke this morning. And, of course, that was one of the first things he was asked about. He said, and I quote, "I understand that there's interest in the A.J. Brown story. I, unfortunately, don't have a home under a rock." But my answer
pretty funny.
My answer to any question on A.J. Brown is A.J. Brown is a member of the Eagles. From my perspective, anything you ask me about A.J. Brown, I'm going to go right to that answer. I understand the interest. I put on TV, and I see that there's interest, but my answer is A.J. Brown is a member of the Philadelphia Eagles. It's hard to find great players in the NFL, and A.J. is a great player. I think from my perspective, we're going to go out and look for what we can here in free agency in the draft, trying to find great players who love football, and he is one of those guys.
That's one of my button cliches. He's a member of the Eagles or Bears or Texans or whatever.
At least Andrew Barry said Myles Garrett is a Brown for life.
Yeah, that's just not a strong statement.
That's different.
We all know he's a member of the Eagles.
Yes.
You didn't tell us anything there. I very much believe he's getting traded. You've mentioned this, that I don't think this is a Hurts versus Brown thing, but they're in different corners of the ring.
Yes.
and I understand both sides.
I think a year ago you could excuse that away, but now over two, one time is a coincidence, two times is a pattern. I totally just butchered that cliche, but you get what I'm saying.
Whatever it is. Yeah.
It's becoming a little bit of a pattern.
Yes, and I think basically it comes down to not that Hurts isn't good enough. It's just I want to be more of a passing offense where I can put up numbers, and I know that's selfish, and he's won there. But he can see it any way he wants, and he doesn't have a ton of time left in the league. So, we're so run-centric. And this is a Hurts thing. Their offense is so rudimentary in terms of route combinations and things like that, that I'm sure he looks around the league, talks to his buddies on other teams, talks to his agent, and be like, if someone could actually scheme me up as opposed to, hey, go beat one-on-one or go beat doubles, I would put up 50% more numbers and help my team even more. And I can understand that frustration, but that they have to play a certain way, and they've had a lot of success doing it. And you've mentioned it with your affiliation with the team. They adore Hurts,
They love Hurts.
Yeah, and I get it. And how could you not? But I think he limits the way you play offense. I don't have a lot more to add to it, but I think he will get traded after the draft.
Okay.
And I think a real indicator will be, I bet they draft a receiver on the first 2 days.
But see,
and they have a bunch of picks too.
They're
a little sneaky with their picks as always.
But if you went that route about it, wouldn't you kind of be dampering down on the trade value?
I know.
If you go out and draft a wide receiver after you signed Hollywood Brown, after you signed Elijah Moore, and I realize they're not
crazy
needle movers,
but it's still interesting that they're adding NFL receivers.
And if they added one in the first or even second round, then it's like, okay, all of a sudden, where you got room for all these bodies, maybe your leverage in trade negotiations isn't quite what it was.
Could be.
But I'm sure that's a conversation they've had and they, have a plan for.
Yeah, and again, I do think people want picks for next year, not this year.
Correct.
Even
if you have a quarterback in Jalen Hurts,
no matter what,
you want.
I think it's a more valuable draft, and the Eagles, and I think contractually it helps them to trade him later in the process too.
Yes. It almost always does.
Almost always does, yeah.
A.J. Brown, 78 catches last year, just a shade over 1,000 yards, 1,003 yards, 7 touchdowns. Fourth time in a row he's eclipsed 1,000 yards, 3-time Pro Bowler, Super Bowl champion. Only Eagle to post multiple seasons with 1,400-plus receiving yards, the 2 highest marks in Philadelphia Eagles franchise history.
Great player. But I think he's declining a little bit.
You've said that a few times.
A little bit, right. I bet his best year was probably the year before that.
Yes.
Like when you look at his career arc, I think it's starting to come down on the bell curve or whatever.
Matt, another person who spoke today on NFL Network was Aaron Glenn, the head coach of the Jets, and he made a pretty strong.
They just have him on as a guest or whatever.
Yes, pretty strong commitment to Geno Smith being the guy that he wants to ride with this season. No doubt about it. He is our guy. What it means to have a bona fide starter come in and lead this offense to where it needs to go. Listen, he's done it, a couple of years. Those years he had in Seattle, comeback player of the year. He was up for MVP early in the season. There's no doubt in my mind that we brought a competent starter here on this team. I look forward to him getting in the building.
And I think that's actually the right move. I mean, I know that they're a build-for-tomorrow team. They've got a lot of picks. They have 3 first-rounders next year, which is
just
nuts.
Right, 2 this year and 3 next year, right?
I think so, yeah. In addition to multiples on day two and all the other stuff, too. So they're loaded. Now they have to make them work. but I kind of respect the Jets for bringing in DeMario Davis and Geno and realize our culture here has been bad. We need some professionals to kind of like paint the walls different. You know what I mean?
That's the other side of the, people who scream just tank and blow it up and stink for a couple
just bring in all
years.
these young guys who've never won in the league before,
That culture element is so real
yes.
in all of sports, but I think especially
it's so relevant to the Steelers too. Just blow it up and tank. I'm like, all the years you built since Joe Green go down the toilet. Don't do that.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And so that's a real listen, you could be taking a step back. You can be honest and evaluate what you are as an organization if you're the Jets and go, hey, we're not contending for a division title or a Super Bowl this year or anything like that.
Sure.
But we also need adults in the room. We have a lot of young guys on the roster already.
And we're going to have so many more.
We're going to add some more here in the draft
Let's
in
teach
April.
them how to be pros.
Let's have some professionals in the room, some guys that have been Pro Bowlers, some guys that have won division titles in playoff games and things like that. I think that stuff really matters, again, in all of sports.
Yes.
But especially in a game like the NFL where the parity is so high, the margin for error is so slim, and you only have 17 games.
And the roster turnover year after year is so different. You're going to have a lot of new people in there. You got to infuse some culture into the mix.
If you're a baseball team, you have 162 games.
Yeah.
If you're a basketball, NBA or NHL team, you have 82 games. That's a lot of games to build culture.
Yeah,
The NFL, you got 17 games, man.
Right.
That's it.
You're 0-5 or 1-4.
And you might make it to Halloween or Thanksgiving, and your season's already over.
Yeah.
And then you have 17 games, but only 8 or 9 of them really mattered. That stuff can permeate an organization, and all of a sudden you can be stuck in that tank without any ladders to get you out.
So back to quarterback. I think they may have gotten – a steal's a big word because Geno was really bad last year, but I think he's a way better player than what he put on film last year. And I think these circumstances had a lot to do with his failures.
Sure.
Just to blame the quarterback is short-sighted. But he was not good. I still think it's a great risk for them to take, though. And
they're only paying $3.3 million of his salary.
Right. I mean, nothing. And what Glenn said was he's our starting quarterback. Well, who else could it be? Even if
Justin Fields isn't even there anymore.
No, if they love Ty Simpson, he's not going to be the starter on day one anyway.
Not the first
They're not
week
getting
in
Mendoza.
September. Yeah.
They're not going to sign Cousins or another old guy. They probably will draft one, and if not, they definitely will draft one a year from now. But that guy's not going to start in week one. So Glenn's not lying.
And that's why it makes even more sense to me, because if Geno doesn't work out there, fine.
Yeah.
Doesn't hurt you. You're moving on anyways. If he does work out there, you keep him in tow. You let him kind of mentor. Hey, maybe it's Ty Simpson this year. Maybe it's one of those obviously 3 first-round picks that they have next year.
Yeah, right.
You can do a lot worse than have that guy come in, doesn't have the pressure to be the guy right away. You can let him get ready. You can have him lean on someone who's been there, done that. And Geno Smith he's been a starter. He's been benched. He's been a starter. He's been benched.
He's not in a – nobody handed him really anything. He's earned it to come back and earn it. And Yes,
and I think that's a good person to have from a young guy in a locker room, just via osmosis, you know what I mean, to be able to soak up what it takes to last in the league this long at that position.
Yeah, exactly. So, to me, that 100% adds up. And some of these coaches will embellish the truth or kind of dance around it, but what Glenn said was not wrong. He's our quarterback. Contrary to popular belief, even teams that are tanking do their best to win every game.
Yes. Because those coaches don't want to lose their jobs.
No, they work hard and they practice hard, and they don't say I'm not going to block this guy or I'm going to put my bad players out there all game. So he's our quarterback. We're trying to win football games. That's their job now. That's the head coach's job. Try to win 17 of them.
Yesterday on our first show here in Arizona, Matt and I discussed the possibility of the NFL Referees Association, a stalemate there, another replacement refs type scenario like we saw in 2012 to begin that NFL season. We have some updates. We have some news from today on that front. We'll go there to close down our first hour of the drive when we return. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson, inside the fabulous Biltmore in Phoenix, Arizona. It's all part of our ongoing 2026 NFL League Owners Meetings coverage here on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. We are inside the Biltmore here in Arizona. Beautiful, sunny, nice and warm. Phoenix. for another day of our league meeting coverage here on The Drive. Wes Uhler and Matt Williamson closing down the first hour of today's program. We will have a bonus third hour for you today and, of course, tomorrow. Those are our 3 days of coverage. Had a lot of fun yesterday.
It was fun.
For those who might not be as completely – what's the term I'm looking for here? Dorkish as we are.
That's a good term.
As big of a nerds as we are. You might not have realized that we had a show yesterday, but we did. A special
find that still, though.
3-hour Sunday edition. As we like to say, you never miss a Sunday show. And so you can find that still podcast feed, SNR Drive, wherever you get us, of course, on our YouTube page as well, too. TV is not here with us in Arizona for all of our loyal listeners. I do think he's probably enjoying a little bit of a breather with a young daughter at home and everything. He could probably use a few days to breathe and relax a little bit. But we do have Jason from Steelers Video has been helping us with the video elements as well too. So Matt, we had gotten a couple tweets from people asking if the shows that we're doing out here in Arizona will be on YouTube. Yes, they will be.
Yes.
Yesterday's show is there, along with the show that we're doing now. Will be there, and tomorrow's program as well. Before we fly back across the country, a little over 2,000 miles to home on Wednesday. Matt, a ongoing story from this week, and one that I think is going to probably linger to training camp, if I had to guess now.
These next couple of days might really pick this up, too. Get the snowball rolling down the hill,
According to all the conversation yesterday and today, the NFL and the NFLRA, which is the NFL Referees Association.
You don't hear that very often, but I bet you're going to hear it more and more.
Let me just real quick set the scene for everybody. I think if you're listening to this show in March, if you're listening to a 24/7 football network in March, you probably know a thing or two about football. You've probably heard of the NFLPA, the NFL Players Association.
Yeah.
We've had instances in the past, we've had conversations in the past where the NFLPA and the NFL have collective bargaining agreements. How many games are going to be played in a season? What are certain parameters on salaries and salary caps and things like that, and franchise tags and travel and all
sorts of things.
How much they're allowed to practice and what training camp can look like. And you're familiar. All that stuff is collectively bargained between the league and the NFLPA, the NFL Players Association. Well, what I don't think everybody is hip to is that there is also an NFLRA, the NFL Referees Association, and they have the same type of contracts with the league that the Players Association does.
I bet they're not as powerful, but
I bet they are not as powerful. But they certainly have a big role and a big effect on this.
Yeah.
And if you'll all remember, back in 2012, there was a situation where there was a strike with the Referees Association to start the year. That was the famous game, actually involving Aaron Rodgers, funny enough, in the Green Bay Packers in Seattle to open that season. And Aaron Rodgers throws I can't remember if it was Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson, but throws the Hail Mary on the last play of the game, and there's 2 replacement refs, and one standing in the end zone signaling touchdown, and the other one's there signaling incomplete pass, and it was famously called the Fail Mary, and there was a bunch of controversy around that moment. Well, Matt, according to everybody here, boots on the ground, it sounds like the NFL and the NFLRA are far away from negotiations and agreements on a new contract, and the NFL has begun the process to start hiring replacement refs.
Wow. Okay. I mean, that's putting the pressure on them. They must feel like they're pretty far off. Now, I know about football. You know about football. We don't know a ton about labor negotiations and whatnot, too. It's another topic that I am not going to claim to be an expert on. Maybe this is step one of just putting pressure on your opponent.
And we know
it's a tactic.
Much like the Myles Garrett, we're not trading him conversations. Everything is about controlling the narrative and winning the negotiation.
Absolutely, and which is going to be part of this, putting pressure on your opponent to get the best deal you possibly can. There's tactics involved, of course, but not what you want to hear. I mean, as we sit here, at the end of March?
End of March, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you would hope that these aren't the stories you want to be talking about for between now and opening day.
Yes, I think that's a good way to put it.
Most of our listeners are like, boy, I just hope this goes away and we don't have to hear about it again.
Exactly right.
Yeah, right.
And there's a very good chance that could be the case.
Yeah.
There's also a chance, like I said, that this could linger into the summer and up to the start of the regular season, because we all know that's the classic, I think, kind of 11th hour of negotiations, right?
Sure.
We've seen this.
Deadlines get things done. Right.
Deadlines get things done. We've seen this before with NFLPA negotiations, where it's like, oh my goodness, could there be a lockout?
Could there be a strike?
Could there be a strike? Could there be a delay to the start of the season? And then they get something done in the 11th hour. And So there's a very obviously real possibility that that's the case. But the NFL has compiled a list of college officials to recruit.
Wow.
And they're expected to add some replay enhancements. We discussed that yesterday that would accompany this to make life a little bit easier on those replacement refs. And
I got a question for you about this now I think about it. So does the SEC have refs?
Yes, every conference has their own refs.
Okay, and they're
ACC,
they get
Big
checked
12,
from
SEC,
the ACC
Big
or
10.
from Big 12 or
Yes.
whatever. Okay.
All the way down into
the MAC and all the way down.
And
Yeah,
MAC
of
and all
course,
that
of course,
stuff.
of course.
Yes.
I thought so, but okay.
And they work other games. So, for example, sorry to cut you off there,
No,
but
please.
like the national championship game was Indiana and Miami.
Yeah.
Big 10 ACC. I believe it was a Big 12 officiating crew that did the national championship game.
Someone's got good ratings.
They also
did
do
well.
that in the bowl games, and in the beginning of this season, Ohio State will play Texas,
Of course.
like in a
Yeah,
non-conference game, and they'll bring in an ACC officiating crew.
But
So
just
those
like the
guys-
Super Bowl for the national championship game, it's the best crew.
Yes,
It's
if you're getting
got good
those,
ratings.
if you're getting those
and
big games, if you're getting the playoffs and
You
the
have a good
college football
reputation
championship,
and-
you
yeah.
obviously have a pretty good reputation. Yes.
Okay, that's exactly what the preface I wanted to lend to this. Okay, so you said, and Miami plays Indiana in the national title game, and they bring in a Big 12 staff, which they probably think, I'm just going to assume, is the best referee staff in college football that's not part of these two conferences.
Correct.
Okay.
I would imagine that's the
That's
hiring.
who they want.
That's who they want. That's
Right,
the hiring.
right.
front. Give us
We're giving
someone
you the
who's
first-
neutral, so they can't say, "Oh, he's just favoring the Big
Right.
10 team," and has very high ratings. Yes.
And they say, it's an honor, we're offering you this job for this day first. You can refuse it if you want or whatever. Okay. Well, here's where I'm going with this. I assume the NFL reaches out to that exact same crew and says, you're the best. Do you want to be our replacement crew? Wow, that sounds awesome. But the rules are really different. Really different.
Cool.
And, I mean, that, to me, that's almost like learning a new language. I'm trying to think as those around you think. If I'm that ref going, I'm really good at ref in college, it'd be like if someone asked me to go.
It's almost like going from algebra to calculus.
The example I was going to use is like if someone asked me to talk about Pitt and WVU. Like, it's football, but I don't know the same.
Or if someone asked you and I to be on TV, like to do a television studio football show.
Right. Or I have to do it in 3-minute increments as opposed to 3-hour increments.
It may be like a lot like if you're a radio, if you're Rob King and you're doing the Steelers broadcasts on radio, to all of a sudden you got to go do a national broadcast for ABC.
Yeah,
or
right.
CBS.
And the rules are just different.
And the way you call games on radio
Absolutely.
is way different than you call games on TV.
Right.
It's in the same ecosystem, but there's a lot of differences.
I mean, it wouldn't be like asking me to talk about tennis, but I mean, but still, there's a lot of nuances, and rule books take a long time to learn.
Totally.
And
the catch rules are different. The down by contact rules are
speed
different.
of the game is way different, and the stadiums and where the play clocks
overtime
are.
rules, all these things.
So what I'm saying is, okay, NFL goes to that Big 12 group. Hey, you're our first choice. You're awesome. Okay, thank you, NFL. That sounds great. But what's the chances I'm actually going to get the gig? Am I going to relearn everything
For 2 weeks.
For 2 weeks until you guys seal the deal? And you know what I mean? Like, I'm happy where I'm at. Leave me alone. You know, like it would be hard for me to say yes to that job.
That's a great point.
Knowing I'm probably just going to get replaced as soon as the deal gets signed.
And then does
Big 12 still want me? And
exactly
right.
right.
I mean,
all of a sudden, did I lose?
They're going to play games with or without me.
Did I lose my seat at the table at the top of the collegiate pecking order just to go work 2 or 3 weeks in the NFL?
Right. Which is reason number 100 that the NFL should have a minor league system. You just bring up the best guys from the Morgantown Steelers. You know what I mean? The State College Eagles or whatever, you know?
State College Eagles. Yeah.
But, I mean, if I'm a great college ref, I have a good gig. I'm not saying yes to that.
You know what? And all the different angles of this that I had thought about, that's the
just
one
dawned
thing
on me, yeah.
It's a great point by you because, why am I going to lose my seat at the table?
Yeah.
To go work a couple weeks in the NFL, and then it might not
I know
even,
this language, but I got to learn one that's similar but not the same.
And if I go up there,
and I'm never going to go to that country,
and I make a bad call or I get something wrong,
I'm
going to get crushed nationally, and I'm never going to get an
fan
opportunity.
Thinks I'm an idiot.
Everybody thinks I'm a
right.
dingus.
You're not going to get any benefit of the doubt in that position. I mean, not even close. Yeah, don't sign me up for that.
That's, you know what, I hadn't considered that, but that's a very good thought process for you to bring to the table. So apparently,
it's pretty good being an SEC ref, I'm sure.
I've
been doing this for 20 years, and
I imagine I imagine that's a fun gig. I imagine that's a pretty good gig with gainful employment, certainly.
Yeah.
One difference, though, Matt, that I think is important in some of this language here in the reports is that, according to a league source, they want to start training new replacement officials beginning May 1st. Okay, so a little over about a month from now.
Okay.
When this happened in 2020.
And again, you have to get trained.
Big
It's
time.
not just like, here's a book, learn it,
Big time. When this happened in 2012, they didn't start the referee training until July. So that was one of the things of like,
so they're getting ahead of it.
We're going to learn from our mistake. Last time we didn't give these guys enough time to prepare. Like you just mentioned, all the new rules, the new changes, the differences in just how the way the games are governed. 1 catch is in college football. 1 foot is a catch in college football. 2 feet in the NFL.
And those are the easy ones. I mean, the rules are way deeper than that.
Exactly, right. Like the difference in, in college, if your knee's down, you're down. It doesn't matter if you're touched or not. Whereas opposed to
Mr. Jeremy Fowler walking by.
Mr. Jeremy Fowler, formerly of this parish in Western Pennsylvania, walking by here. So at least they're saying or, addressing that, and we're going to give these guys 2 extra months to prepare and start training, which I think is definitely important.
Train them as much as possible.
But what if you're training your 4th or 5th choice crew and not the
best guys on the
not
MAC
the A team?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I mean, it just seems a lot of room for error here.
Well, there certainly is.
Yeah.
There certainly is. So that is what I think. Like you said it well, Matt. It's not what we want to be talking about this time of year. I don't think it's what much NFL fans want to be hearing or discussing. They don't get it. Just put the referees out on the field, let them do their job, get it done properly. Give us and that's the other part of this. If it does end up coming to a replacement ref situation that people are going to hate, there's going to be more parameters for review. They're going to expand.
That's already been.
They're going to expand.
They're going to talk about that tomorrow.
They're talking about that tomorrow. So they're going to expand the video elements, and so that would be something that people at home would notice and would be bothered by.
One more thing to focus on.
One more thing to focus by. One more additional piece of, I guess, potential controversy, if you want to label it that way. And also, Matt, I think there's not many things that all sports fans agree on, right? There's not many things in society that we all agree on, but I do think one of them pretty unanimously across the board. If you ask football fans, if you ask fans of any other sport too, yes, they want review, but they want it to be a speedy, quick, expedited process.
Yeah.
They don't want to see the referees go into the monitor multiple times a game. They don't want to see it taking 2 or 3 minutes to make the decision. I have a feeling that a lot of
They want the microwave version, of course.
They want the microwave version of video review, and I have a feeling that a lot of this would be the opposite of that. It would be more frequent.
Probably.
It would be longer reviews. It would be clunkier. It would slow the game down. And, again, like that's something – I don't care if you're a Steelers fan, a Ravens fan, a Cowboys fan, an Eagles fan. That's something that nobody wants to see.
Yeah, true. Now, as you were saying that, I'm like, that's kind of demanding. Like, I want every play call to be right. And I want it to be super quick.
No doubt.
Like, is there anything else you want?
I also want my cake, and I want to eat it too.
Yeah, and I want to eat it too, and then I want another cake, and then I want another cake, and I never want it to be a bad cake.
Maybe some ice cream and a brownie.
Right, exactly. Like, of course everybody wants it quick and perfect. It's asking a lot.
It sure is.
Like, never miss a ball or strike call.
Like, I'm going to
miss 1 or 2, Right.
But then you bring in the robot umps, and everyone's like, well, what happened to the human element of the game?
Right.
You can't always get what you want. But if you try sometime,
you just might find.
You get what you need. An hour in the books. Another 2 hours to go here. We are going to take a look at some new mock drafts. We're going to get to your tweets. We're going to have some guests here as we roll along. Plenty more to get to with an hour in the books here on The Drive, live in Phoenix, Arizona at the Biltmore. Matt and I are here. It's all part of the NFL's annual league meetings, all happening on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. It's Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Hour number 2 of day 2 here inside the Biltmore in Phoenix, Arizona. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson. It is The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio. Joining us now, a special guest. You know his work, covers the Steelers for The Athletic, Mike Defabo. Mike, what's up, dude? Are you enjoying the Arizona sunshine? Nice to get out of the northeast winter here for a few days.
Yeah, I mean, I'm missing those low 20s temperatures and the bipolar weather we've been having in Pittsburgh. But, no, it's unbelievably beautiful here right now. Perfect weather. Great to be indoors in the air conditioning with you guys, though.
Absolutely. We're looking forward to it. Pretty cool party tonight here that I'm going to get to experience for the first time. I was laughing with Matt, though. I brought my jacket, my pants, my shirt, everything. Forgot dress socks for the party, so I am going to have to get some dress socks
I can take care of you there. I'm a good friend like that.
Oh, you got an extra set?
All right.
Yeah, I could hook you up.
Okay.
Matt forgot his slacks and had to go get a pair. I forgot dress socks. We're just a well-oiled machine over here.
I told you, though, this is like the NFL wedding. The first time I went to it, I texted my wife and said, this is the best wedding I ever have been to. There was like a 25-piece band. The guys were wearing tuxedos.
Yeah.
There was an old-fashioned bar. I ate around the world. I had sushi. I had Italian plate, steak.
Now you're speaking
carving
language.
Station. It's usually not the path I go because I'm consuming liquor and whatnot, but the ice cream bar is unbelievable. I mean, like, the desserts are insane.
They have a petting zoo for kids.
Right.
Last year they had hermit crab racing.
The hermit crab races, yeah.
Hermit crab races.
Oh, man.
With, like, Steeler symbols on them and cowboy symbols on them, and you bet on the cowboy hermit crab or whatever.
That's pretty.
Right.
All right,
Yeah.
well, I was excited for tonight. Now you just put it over the top
cool.
with hermit crab racing here. I mean, come on.
No gambling on it. I don't know about gambling in this state if that's legal, especially when it comes to hermit crabs.
That's a good point. Your secret's safe with me. Don't worry. I won't tell anybody. Mike, let's jump into it with you. Obviously, some stuff as it pertains to here that we want to discuss with you, some Steelers-related stuff. I want to piggyback off of what Matt and I were just talking about in our first hour of the show here as we kick off hour number 2. What's your temperature check? What's your vibe around this kind of current stalemate, standoff between the league and the Referees Association? Do you think that this is just it's the right time in the calendar, they're posturing for kind of the narrative and negotiations, or do you think this could be something that could linger, deep into the summer and close to the regular season?
I mean, we've seen once before that it did linger into the season, and Aaron Rodgers was a part of it, and not a big fan of those replacement referees.
Right.
And referees are funny because they have a tough job, and they're not always very good at it, and it's easy to criticize them. But when you don't have them and you have people that are not as prepared to do the job, then you even see how difficult that job really is. So you hope for quality control and for the betterment of the game that they do get this resolved. But, again, they weren't able to last time.
So, speaking of Rodgers, 2-part question. Low-hanging, quick answer. Do you think he's going to be a Steeler and the starter in week 1? Part 2, assuming that gets done before the draft, or if you don't think so, let's go down that road too. Do you think they draft one or not? I'm really on the fence if it's the right move.
So, it's interesting because around the combine time, I talked with people, I think, at all levels of the organization, from players who had been in communication with Rodgers, through the public comments and stuff that Omar Khan and Mike McCarthy made and other decision makers. And their whole feeling was Aaron Rodgers was going to decide sometime in March, and they thought that it was likely, and there was optimism, that he would sign with the Steelers. I really got the sense that they believed that they would have an answer coming into this meeting, and they don't.
We got one more day. I was just double-checking the calendar here. It's the 30th. Okay.
So I think even the people who are most intimately involved in these discussions are a bit surprised that it's taken as long as it has. But I think that it really is trending in that direction. I think that the overwhelming likelihood is Aaron Rodgers is leading the Steelers onto the field week 1. Now, when it comes to drafting a quarterback, I mean, the difficult thing is this was supposed to be a talent-rich QB class.
Right.
It's basically fallen apart because you've got guys that either failed to meet expectations like Nussmeier, like Drew Uhler. You've got guys who chose to stay in school. And then you've got both, like the Lenore Seller guys. So really your only option early would be Ty Simpson. I would be almost shocked if they go that route.
Me too.
I think that the 15 college starts is going to be such a turnoff for this team. And that's going to be such a deterrent for them. So then you're talking about who else would they go for. They had a handful of quarterbacks that they met with at the Combine. They also hosted Carson Beck.
They're going to be familiar with Nussmeier.
They are very familiar with Nussmeier. They met with him at the Senior Bowl. So they've already had a sit-down meeting with him. I think Carson Beck is interesting. I know if the fan base isn't all in on him. They seem to be very against that idea. But they brought him in for a reason, and I think that he's really the opposite in terms of versus Ty Simpson. He is a guy with nearly 3 times as much starting experience. Not all of that good, but I think that when you're talking about drafting a quarterback in like the 4th round. So to answer your question, Matt, I could
They have
see
a lot of picks.
I could see them using like a 4th round type pick on a quarterback, but not something early and not something aggressive.
I don't think either one of the top 2 rounds will be a quarterback.
No.
I mean, if Nussmeier's there in the 3rd, I understand. If another one of these names, Cole Payton, et cetera, I understand. But I'm kind of just torn. Is it worth it at all?
Yeah, it's a good point because, I mean, I think there have been times where the Steelers have had a lot of QB2s on their roster, but no QB1. You know, it's like the guy in your fantasy football league that tries to trade you a bunch of backups for your starter. You know, having a Mason Rudolph, having a Kenny Pickett, and having a Mitch Trubisky doesn't equal a QB1. You can't add them up together.
They don't all equal Ben.
Right.
Right.
So you build one in the aggregate.
So, I mean, it's not the worst. Even if you had Rodgers come in, it's not the worst idea to take another quarterback in the mid-round and then that guy also get the Will Howard experience, because Rodgers was an extremely willing mentor to Will Howard. He should be credited.
To me, that's
for
one of
that.
the biggest allures. I just want someone to hang with Rodgers for a year.
And that happened from quite literally Aaron Rodgers' very first day on the practice field. I watched him there work with Will Howard on his footwork. Aaron Rodgers was like specifically
those first OTAs.
Yeah,
I remember that
when
too.
Rodgers wasn't even practicing.
He was wearing sneakers.
Yeah, he didn't even work out, but he was working with Will Howard, and that continued throughout the year. So that would be maybe the advantage to doing so. But I get your point. If you use that pick on an inside linebacker instead,
Safety or guard
safety,
or whatever,
a
right?
guard,
right.
you know, and just save
And
that
you're
pick.
still planning on taking one in the first round next year. What's it get you? And you're probably cutting Rudolph or trading Rudolph.
Or you trade that, you know, whatever, 4th round pick for a pick in 2027, and that's part of the excess draft capital you can use to then take your aggressive swing. So, I mean, I could see the argument for just rolling with the current quarterback room. So I think it probably hinges upon how much they actually like these guys in the draft and what does Rodgers say and when.
One thing I would throw in, just because I want our listeners to remember this, I remembered vividly that first OTA session he had signed like 5 minutes before.
Right.
And I remember just everyone on the planet was staring at Rodgers, of course, and we were on the air. And all I could think was, this guy is so engaged for every second that his body is on the football field. He's either coaching up Freiermuth or Howard or Washington or Metcalf, or he's sitting there with the quarterback coach and the offensive coordinator getting coached up. I mean, every second he was engaged.
And he even led a meeting every Thursday. It was a player-led meeting where he stood up in front of the room. Will Howard was the guy on the computer, working that thing. And I think for the most part, he was very well received by his teammates. Now, Aaron Rodgers is, by his own definition, a perfectionist. And he demanded excellence and perfection out of his teammates. Sometimes we saw that spill over to him going and getting in Roman Wilson's face, but really, overwhelmingly, I think that those interactions were positive because he was demanding specific things. And you look at Mike McCarthy's offense, the whole West Coast offense is based on timing and precision. And if a guy is not coming out of his break when you need him to, when you're at a certain point in your drop and in your progression, it doesn't work. And that's why
5.5 yards, right? Not 5 yards, not 6 yards, 5.5 yards.
That's why
Bill
he's
Walsh,
like that.
6 inches in front of the numbers. Not 8, 6 inches in front of the numbers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's where that all came from. And that's where I think that's some of the extra benefit of Rodgers. Like, we know that maybe his mobility isn't what it was. The deep ball was more inconsistent than I expected to be last year. But he still has the arm talent. And more than anything, he has the mental makeup to be the leader of this offense.
Mike Defabo of The Athletic with us here at the league meetings on Steelers Nation Radio, Steelers Audio Network. Okay, I guess then this leads me to, let's say Aaron Rodgers decides, you know what, I'm retiring, I'm sailing off into the sunset. Maybe I don't want to face down the replacement refs again the first couple weeks in September. Then what becomes the plan for the organization? Is it Will Howard, Mason Rudolph, another draft pick, go to Latrobe and see what happens? Is it bringing another veteran-type guy, a Kirk Cousins, a Derek Carr, a Jimmy Garoppolo, some of the names that are still available? If Aaron Rodgers is not a Pittsburgh Steeler, by minicamp, by, training camp, in that summer kind of timeline, what do you think the plan is? What's plan B for the Steelers if it's not number 8?
Yeah, and that'll be a good question that we'll get to ask Mike McCarthy today. But, my sense is that the Steelers do have a lot of faith in Will Howard. There are people Mike McCarthy's on record praising him and talking about how much he likes the potential of Will Howard because of his big frame, because of the fact that he won a national championship at Ohio State. That's all appealing to this team. And other people within the organization also are quite high on Will Howard and his potential. I think that Will Howard would be given an opportunity to compete for the starting job. And then I think they would fill out – if they brought in – I think they would likely draft a quarterback like, that day 4, day 3 – or round 4, round 3 type pick to round out the room. But if they brought in a veteran, from what I've heard, it would be to compete with the rest of the room, not necessarily the sign the guy, give him the QB1 title.
So they currently have 5 picks on the first 2 days, which is great. They have an immense amount of draft capital compared to the rest of the league. Quarterback aside, Rodgers aside, what positions with those 5 picks would you write down in blood is going to be one of the 5?
Offensive guard, surprisingly, has turned into, I think, maybe the most glaring hole on the roster right now. You look at what they did in free agency. They got a wide receiver, too. They upgraded the defensive front, added some depth there. They got a cornerback to start opposite Joey Porter Jr., added some safety options. The one thing that they really didn't do is find a legitimate upgrade and replacement for Isaac Seumalo. Now, I know that they have Brock Hoffman and Spencer Anderson. The way that they're
not terrible options, and I'm not saying you're implying they are.
Right. But my read on this, or the way that I would look at it if I'm the Steelers, you've already invested 2 first-round picks, a second-round pick, and a 4th in the offensive line with the goal of this group not just being pretty good but being dominant.
Sure.
And the only way you can continue along that same trajectory is with a guy that is an upgrade to Isaac Seumalo, or a guy who at least is at that same caliber. And so I wouldn't count out even in the first round going with an offensive guard. But certainly I think within the first 3 rounds that will be a position that they're looking to address. Wide receiver once felt like the obvious need. It's diminished to a degree because of Michael Pittman. You don't feel that urgency to get the first-round guy. But I still wouldn't be surprised if they went wide receiver first or second round. That makes a lot of sense to me. And honestly, going back to the offensive line, this Broderick Jones injury uncertainty.
That's what I was going to ask you next, if you had any clarity on his next situation.
I mean,
nobody seems to have any clarity.
The way I understand it, like someone has said to me, it's not necessarily a death sentence for his career. I mean,
but that's not the most encouraging framing of it either. It's not like, he's going to be fine.
Like it's so. So I think that could be something that lingers. Like, and the other part about this is they likely would have or should have probably picked up Broderick's 5th-year option, because you look at the fact that it will come in around $20 million. Dan Moore Jr. allowed the most sacks in the league and turned around and got $20 million by 4 years. Okay, that's the going rate for a starting offensive tackle in this league. But
not even good ones.
Right.
Right.
So I feel like, now it seems unlikely that they would pick up Broderick's 5th-year option. Sooner than later, you're going to need a new starting left tackle, whether it's week 1 of this season because Broderick's not healthy in time, or it's next year. So I feel like all of a sudden, offensive tackle that looked like they had shorted up for the long haul, that's now becoming more of a question mark for the team. And then I guess another thing would be a nice pick would be a true, pure free safety.
I was saying
with some speed on the back end.
Jaquan Brisker,
a lot to pick from.
The team thinks that he has the versatility to play, a variety of positions within the secondary, including free safety. He was kind of inconsistent. That was kind of the knock on him, is his eye discipline wasn't really great when he was in center field there. So if you got a guy that, at least gives you another option there. Not to mention,
he's going to help on special teams. And
yeah. So I think
Brisker's on a 1-year deal.
I think all those positions would make sense. And I think, in the middle rounds, if you can get an upgrade to Malik Harrison, that linebacker.
Is it shocking he's still on the team?
Is it maybe feel like a Cordero Patterson type situation?
In terms of getting cut?
I think they maybe have to wait and see how the draft pans out. But I just feel like they've got 2 guys in the mold, like Peyton Wilson and Patrick Queen are kind of similar, where they're both that rangy coverage inside linebacker. You trust them in sub packages, but they're both better if you've got that real downhill force, the Landon Roberts type player.
Banger, yeah.
And I think that Malik Harrison, he was injured for some of the year, and I don't think that he was what they were expecting when he was on the field healthy. So I feel like and this is a really, really good inside linebacker class.
Yeah. It's good safety, too.
Good safeties, too.
Yeah.
And cornerback, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got all these picks, and I'm naming all these positions, but
they can do all of them.
That's the other wild thing. Like, I wouldn't even count on a corner as early as the first round if they like a guy enough. Because I know they got
true outside corner.
I know that they got Jamel Dean. I know that they got him, but still, I think that if the right corner was there, I think that they would see an opportunity.
Very interesting. Any restructures or anything coming down the line? Highsmith, T.J. Watt, still in a fine cap position that you don't have to consider that?
Yeah, I think that
I guess DK could be a candidate too.
They could go that route if they need to, but they don't need to right now. And so I think that that's kind of a last resort. If they were in a position where they had an opportunity to bring in a player, they needed to create the cap space. But Omar, remember, he made his reputation by being a master with the salary cap and moving those numbers around. And right now, he's put the Steelers in an excellent cap position right now.
Exceptional.
And so right now you don't have to, but things could change down the line.
Last thing I got for you along those lines too. Do you expect some extensions maybe in camp too? Porter, et cetera.
Herbig.
Yeah, I think that all those guys from Omar Khan's first draft class.
Benton maybe.
Happens fast, doesn't it?
Pretty much all of them, you could make the case that they deserve an extension. So a guy like Joey Porter Jr., I think that probably will get done. The one that I wonder about is Nick Herbig, because obviously his performance merits it, and you would love to have that guy long term. My question, and I don't have an answer to this, I'm speculating, what would he want?
I'd want quite a bit.
Well, and the other question is, would you want to basically prove yourself this year and hit the open market and really see what your value is on the open market?
Bet on yourself.
Does he want the money now? Does he want the security? Do they make it financially, a situation that makes sense for him? Or would he want to say, I'm betting on myself this year. I'm going to play this out, and next year I'm going to be a coveted guy that more teams than just the Steelers are going to be interested in throwing some money at.
It's a lot to ponder, a lot to consider. Great stuff with our friend Mike Defabo. Make sure you're checking out all his work in The Athletic. Enjoy all the hustle and bustle today, and we'll see you at the dinner party a little bit later.
Can't wait. I'll be saving you a spot over by the old-fashioned bar.
Over by the old-fashioned bar.
Hermit Crabs.
I want to make.
I'll see you by the Hermit Crabs.
I was going to say
I'm
I'm trying to get front row. I'm trying to get floor seating for the Hermit Crab race. I can't wait. Great stuff.
That might be a Florida only thing. I don't know.
Wouldn't they have like Gators or something else race if it was Florida?
But last year was Florida and it was Hermit Crabs. I don't know.
Oh boy, we'll see what
like
Phoenix.
Scorpions or something out here.
Yeah, that's right. It's a scorpion. some kind
rattlesnake.
Some kind of rattlesnake, or tarantulas or something like that. We'll see. We'll report back tomorrow. Going to roll along here live from the Biltmore. When we return, it's all part of our ongoing league meetings coverage here in Phoenix, Arizona. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson. It is The Drive, Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. It is The Drive on location, all the moving and shaking here at the annual league meetings inside the Biltmore, fabulous facility in Phoenix, Arizona. Wes Uhler and Matt Williamson. It is hour number 2. We will have the third bonus hour today and tomorrow as well before we fly back across the country to our cold, fake spring tease that is
I like home, though.
Western Pennsylvania.
A little rough on home.
I love home,
Yeah.
but I don't love the weather at home. That's all.
I prefer this.
Yes. The older, and I think you and I have had this conversation before, but the older and older I get, the less and less I like winter. I grew up loving winter and loving the 4 seasons and outdoor winter activities and sled riding and pond hockey and all that stuff. But the older and older I get, Matt, I get colder and colder. I get softer and softer, and I enjoy the warm weather climates.
I have some of that. I definitely get colder quicker. You're like, ooh, that just hits me right in my bones. And I will say all the single-digit stretch we had this year was unusual.
It was a rough winter, too. We are coming off of a rough winter.
That was a lot. I was starting to wear on me. But I'm still a 4 seasons dude. And I'll be honest, I mean, middle of July, I'm not outside very much either.
No.
It's a little warm for me, too.
Exactly. Yeah. It's funny. That's what, a couple of the like Uber and Lyft drivers that we've had so far have been like, oh, man, you guys might love it here now. It's great, but just wait until July. And I was like, I already stay inside in July anyway.
That's true,
Like I go out and cut the grass and do the things that I have to do, tend to my garden in the morning, before the sun's really hitting, and then you spend the afternoon indoors and staying out of the sun.
One of my best buds went from Slippery Rock to Jacksonville and lived there for a long, long time. Now he lives in Tennessee. But, I mean, you'd visit him or talk to him. It's like there's a handful of hours during the day.
You can't do it.
You just go in. You do things in the morning, you do things in the evening. You just don't go outside.
Yep.
And certain months of the year.
They kind of schedule their sporting events and stuff like that.
Yeah, you don't even go to the pool. You don't take kids to the pool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hot.
No chance.
Yeah.
Real quick, Matt, while we're kind of in just storytelling and peeling back the curtain mode, we almost, speaking of our rides over here, we almost collided with a driverless car in downtown Phoenix.
Yeah.
They have these driverless.
It's a strange intersection.
They're called Whammos.
So are they? It's
the same idea as an Uber or a Lyft or a rideshare service. It's called Whammo, and it's out here, and they are driverless SUVs.
Yes.
Last night, I went to the I know this will shock all of our listeners,
big
but
shocker.
I realized last night that my WVU baseball program was playing 5 miles down the road against Arizona State, and I was like, well, that's an easy decision. I'm going to watch some baseball. Of
course.
And I was talking, making some friends with the people around me and things like that, as I tend to do, and they were all like, when you ride home, you got to take the Whammos. You got to take the Whammos. Check it out. And
Okay.
I'm like, I don't know how I feel
So
about
they're new around here, right?
They are relatively newer, yes.
And you're the only human being in the car.
You are the only human being in the car. And I was kind of like, I don't know, that wigs me out a little bit. It's a little Black Mirror. It's a little too Black Mirror-ish for me. And then one of them almost collided with us, like in the hotel intersection this morning, and I think it just reinforced my thought process of staying away.
I can't possibly explain what that intersection's like, but it's an odd one.
To be fair to the driverless car, it's a tough intersection.
Yeah, I mean, you have to come out of our hotel, get all the way in the left lane, which is like the third lane, and then do a U-turn to go the opposite way. And we were driving a boat. I mean, we were driving the Titanic. So,
give it some grace. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, I was saying maybe he had a tough morning, didn't have his coffee yet. But it was close.
Give the driverless car its time. It was early in the morning. It hasn't had its coffee yet.
It was a challenging situation.
Let it wake up a little bit before you so quickly to judge. All right, I'll stop throwing.
And we didn't smash into each other.
I'll stop throwing stones, and maybe we'll end up riding the Whammo before we get out of here on Wednesday. Matt, one thing that we wanted to piggyback off. Thanks to Mike Defabo for taking the time to talk to us there. Make sure you're checking out all his work. He's a grinder, man.
Defabo it's some good stuff. Yeah,
and puts out great work in The Athletic and great coverage of all these type of events. Contract talks, Matt. Obviously, extensions.
Yeah,
pardon me.
Yeah.
Obviously,
there's some candidates.
There's some real candidates.
Herbig stuff's really interesting.
And Joey Porter Jr. feels like the top one.
I just feel like that's going to get done.
Premium position going to get done. Herbig may be similar, but there is you already have 2 highly paid players at that position. What exactly do you want to spend percentage of your cap there in one group?
And I've thought about it too. Just like Mike mentioned, he said, well, is Herbig going to take 80 cents on the dollar this year to stay with the Steelers, or, boy, if I can hit the open market, I know you're not going to franchise me with 2 other outside line, guys in my position. I would definitely make more, assuming I have a similar year to what I've had. I think you'd break the bank. But do you want to bet on yourself for that year? I mean, my thoughts on it, just from a Steeler perspective, is I can't let that guy walk. Period.
Agree.
End of sentence. I can't let that guy walk.
You drafted him. You developed him. He's outstanding.
And I'm not implying this would happen, but if that means I have to trade Watt or Highsmith and then draft the next one in the second round a year from now, I'm more open to that than I'm just not letting that guy walk. Period. I mean, that's unless he wants Myles Garrett money.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the interesting one, because Joey Porter Jr. again feels like he's going to demand a big chunk, which I think he's certainly earned that.
Sure.
He's certainly earned that right. But at a premium position at his age, that one feels pretty much.
Considering his history, I mean, I would think he wants to be here. They want him.
Exactly right.
Entering the prime of his career.
But
not that that's an easy one, but
not an easy one, but it's a little more linear.
Yeah,
it's a little more linear. Whereas Herbig, there's some road bumps, there's some questions. What's their thought process? And is it like you said? What's his thought process?
Even like Benton, what's Benton worth? I mean, I think that there's questions about that. Considering his role and usage and all those things too.
I think so, and that's obviously a big part of what we'll be covering here throughout the off season and keeping an eye on. especially when we get to training camp time where it feels like a lot of those things tend to, at least in recent history, where those things have gotten done.
Yeah, it's not time yet.
Not time yet. But, Matt, it could be time to maybe potentially extend 2 pieces of the offensive line.
So, you know how I get on my kicks, and
hold on, folks. This is a weird world of Matt Williamson that we're about to dive into.
Yeah, and a lot of it kind of triggered when we sat here yesterday with Chris Halleck from DK Pittsburgh Sports, and he mentioned, and I don't think any of us were shocked by it. He didn't break any news that, hey, the Steelers really like Spencer Anderson, and made me think. Got back to the hotel and thought it over, and I also think they're pretty high on Cook. And one of my favorite tactics or strategies from a team perspective, and Jaylen Warren was the best recent example, is, again, think as those around you think, and
the Godfather.
Realize that a Jaylen Warren, who was undrafted, Anderson, who was a 7th-round pick, Cook, who was undrafted, but have proven themselves to be NFL players at a minimum, and maybe even starters, and maybe long-term useful pieces.
Really good piece off the bench.
We got a lot of fans.
Chris Adamski, co-host of the Steelers Blitz on the Steelers Audio Network,
we'll drag him in.
Is in the house. Oh, he's definitely. Boss Brian, says you have to do 3 hours with us tomorrow. So
yeah.
just get prepared. Just get prepared. We'll
loose up the vocal cords.
We'll catch up. We'll catch up with Buzz at some point. Good to see you in town, dude.
So as I was saying, Warren's a perfect example that these guys are over the hump where they're NFL players.
Yes, without a doubt. Even if they're not a bona fide starter, they
right.
belong on your roster. They're an important
piece. They're useful to any team.
Yes.
They're you can win games with these guys. They could start. They could back up. I think I've said enough of that. Those 3 guys are all going to be NFL players until their career ends because of injury or whatever. It's not like they're fighting to make the roster anymore, or boy, we're lucky the 7th-round pick isn't a total bust, or right. just a pure special teamer or something like that. Therefore, and the most important part of this equation is none of those people made any money.
So I've got it pulled up for you if you want the exact numbers.
I do know them, but I'd like our listeners to.
Spencer Anderson has been in the league for 3 years.
Yeah.
He's made about $2.7 million.
He hasn't even had the chance to negotiate yet.
Yes.
He signed a 7th-round contract, and this is what you get, Spencer, like it or not. He could be – Brock Purdy signed the same contract. You could be the best 7th-rounder out there.
Matter.
It doesn't matter. Right.
That's all part of our earlier agreement with the collective bargaining stuff. That's
right.
all collectively bargained. If you're drafted here, here's how much you get.
Here's how much you get. Doesn't matter if you're the best quarterback in the league or if you're a backup left guard.
Yes. So his career earnings so far, $750K, $915, and then about $1 million this past year. All that together, 3 years, little under $1 million a year.
And he's set to be a free agent after this year, as is Cook. That's the important part of this equation.
And Dylan Cook.
And hey, that's good money, but for all of our listeners and me and you, but,
absolutely.
But by NFL standards,
you and I would sign up to make $900K a year, but by NFL standards, that is not much. Dylan Cook, kind of similar, just a year behind. He's been 2 years here with the Steelers, and he has made $1.9 million, so a little under $1 million a year. Same kind of conversation. So Matt, with that,
in reality, these guys have made nothing by NFL standards.
They've
made as little as you basically can.
They have made very little by NFL standards.
And basically the minimum you can.
And so where you draw the Jaylen Warren parallel is when you have these guys that have clearly proven they belong on NFL rosters, they belong active on an NFL side, whether it's a starter, whether it's a backup, yes. They're useful, they belong on NFL game days, dressed on the field, on the sideline in some capacity.
One might be a starting left tackle.
Exactly right.
And even if he isn't.
These guys have not made much money, and you might be able to get them at a premium price right now. You might be able to get them at a good deal for the team, but would also allow them to make some legitimate money for the first time in their football playing career.
That's the thing. So Mike brought up Dan Moore. I don't think it's insane to say Cook could have a Dan Moore-like season if he was your starting left tackle for 17 games, hits the open market, and I don't know if he'd get 20 because he doesn't have quite the background, but maybe he gets 15 and someone looks at him as a starting left tackle. Good for him. That'd be great. Or you just lock both of them up now. You know what I mean? I always think about, I don't know if these guys are married. I don't know if they have kids, whatever. But hypothetically, they're young people that have families they're going to, or have a wife or a fiance or whatever they do on their personal life. Do you think Mrs. Anderson or Mrs. Cook would be like, so the Steelers offered you 2 years, $5 million per year, $3 million guaranteed. Do you think his family's gonna be like, nah,
no,
we don't want it.
Let's just wait another year. Let's see what happens.
We can double your earnings with one signing bonus, and
you're going to get a big check here at some point in June or July.
Yeah, and then every week for the rest of the next 2 years on Monday or whatever, you're going to get a much bigger check than we've ever been used to. You have job security. 2 or 3 years ago, you didn't even know if you were going to do this for a living or you're going to be an accountant or a football coach or whatever. Buy him on. I mean, it's not even like 80 cents on the dollar. Buy him at 30 cents on the dollar. Even if he's not your starting left tackle or starting left guard.
It's still fair money that you're paying to a quality backup.
At a position you can't find.
At positions that everybody in the NFL
even running
is
back.
looking for more.
Right, and they do like both these people. And I know everyone's like, Matt's talking out both sides of his mouth. He wants to draft a guard/tackle in the first round. Yeah, I'm still going to do it.
Get greedy.
I'm still going to do it. Because I want 9 of these dudes that can all play because there's a shortage.
Matt, we also just 2 years
ago.
ago.
I'll take more gold. Thanks. Do you want some more gold? No, I got enough. No, I'll take more.
2 years ago.
And if gold sells for, I interrupt you all the time. If gold sells for $100 an ounce and you can give it to me for $20 an ounce, I'm going to buy it.
No, I have too much.
That's
That's too much of a good deal.
I know where to put it.
I don't need that much. I don't want to get greedy over here.
I don't have enough safe space for it.
And I think too, the ultimate reason or ultimate kind of why you want to over-prepare at this position.
Yeah.
Remember 2 years ago, 2024, by the time the Steelers had made it to week 3, they were down 3 significant bodies for the year on that offensive line.
Yeah.
Now, you started with Herbig. You started with Nate Herbig as your center. And we all think that there's a good chance at some point maybe Zach Frazier would have usurped him.
Probably.
But he gets injured for the season in training camp.
But the day he got injured, he was the starter.
He was the starter.
Right,
and at worst case, he would have been your 6th man off the bench who could play guard, center, guard.
Right.
A great piece to have. Faltanu, who was your first-round pick, hurt in training camp, hurt again in the second game of the year, out for the rest of the way. James Daniels, who before that had been your biggest free agency signing and was one of your quality pieces on that offensive line. What was it, week 3 or week 4 in Indianapolis, out for the year.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden you think, man, we've got 8 offensive linemen, 9 offensive linemen who can really play, and before you even get to the end of September, 3 of those guys are done for the year.
Yeah, and Dale and I talked about this a ton when they drafted McCormick. Like, they don't need that guy. That's the one extra at the time. I mean, they drafted 2 in the first 2 rounds.
Needed him. Yep.
I'm like, they really don't need to take another guard, but I'm so happy they did because he was a guy when we did mock drafts. We picked a lot for the Steelers as like a 3rd-round guy. We were high on McCormick, rightfully so. We kind of nailed it. And, okay, you don't really need to take 3 in the first 4 rounds, but get greedy, and it paid off huge. It's a great example for taking 1 more. So even back to Cook and Anderson. Okay, Cook doesn't win your starting left tackle job. You draft Kalen Proctor, and he's great. Or Cook does win, and he's not particularly good. Okay, if he's not particularly good, a contract like I threw out, $4 million a year, $5 million a year, $6 million a year, I don't even care exactly what the numbers are, but it's not going to be 15. You can get out of in no time. You could cut that guy tomorrow if he falls on his face.
And would have
doesn't hurt you at all.
The most minimal impact possible on your dead cap money.
Very, very
It'd be
little.
a blip on the radar.
Or more likely, you happen to draft past him. He's played right tackle. He's played left, as all those dudes do. You can't come in as undrafted free agent and be like, I'm only a left tackle. I'm Anthony Munoz. I can do whatever I want. No, you've had to do everything. So he's like your 6th guy if Faltanu goes down. If you're going to continue to play 6 offensive linemen, it could be Cook, it could be Anderson. Anderson came in the league as a 7th-round pick. He's played both guards. He's played some center. Even his rookie camp, he played a little bit of right tackle. We've seen him play the 6th offensive line spot, which is a little different. So there's a lot of usages for these guys, even if they don't start. And if they do start and they're your 5th weakest starter, you have 4 guys that are better than them, that's a pretty good line.
Not bad.
That's a real good line. And the depth is super important. And just buy cheap. I mean,
at a position where everybody needs help.
Everybody needs help.
Even if whoever we think is the best offensive line in the NFL in 2025, if you went to their offensive line coach, he'd say, I'd still like to add a piece here. I'd still like to get a little bit better there. Even the best offensive lines still would like better depth, would like a little bit more quality. It's a position where the demand greatly outweighs the supply.
Yeah, and frankly, if you went to that O-line coach, whoever it is, the best line in the league, the Eagles in their prime, Stoutland, whenever they're killing
when they had
Kelsey
and Lane Johnson.
Dickerson, all those dudes, right?
Jason Peters.
Like, hey, could you use Spencer Anderson or Dalvin Cook?
Yes.
Or not Dalvin Cook.
Dylan Cook.
Dylan Cook. Yeah. I absolutely would love to have him. What if you have to give him $4 million a year? Yeah. I absolutely would love to have him. He may not beat out Lane Johnson and Mailata, but
we might need him in week 11.
Right.
Speaking of offensive linemen, the great Max Starks, two-time Super Bowl champion.
Talk about giving O-linemen money.
He likes that. We like paying offensive line. Whatever they want, Max Starks
worth their weight
says.
in gold. And they're heavy.
He's ready to negotiate the contracts here. But I think it makes a ton of sense, Matt. And I think the Jalen Warren example is a great parallel.
It's just the time to do it.
It's the time to do it.
They're only going to go up in value.
Get it done now.
And if they fall on their face, they fall on their face.
And it doesn't really hurt you. It doesn't hurt you on
the
back end very much at all. Let's close down the second hour of the show when we return. Bonus hour still to come. We might have another surprise guest or two that we'll nab for you as we roll along here. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson, live from the Biltmore in Phoenix, Arizona, about 2,000 miles away from our studios in Bridgeville, all part of the NFL Annual League meetings here on Steelers Nation Radio.
Watch what Max does tonight at the party, by the way.
Oh, buddy.
Just jot down notes of what Max consumes tonight.
By the time he's done eating, those hermit crabs might be able to beat him in a race.
Yep.
Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson, it is The Drive, Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Closing down the second hour, here of The Drive, live at the NFL Annual League meetings. And joining us now, a special guest, ESPN senior reporter, very special, formerly of Western Pennsylvania, formerly covering the Pittsburgh Steelers for ESPN. Used to stay in Latrobe in the same dorm wing as myself and Matt Williamson not too long ago.
That's right.
Jeremy Fowler. What's up, partner? How you doing?
I'm good, man. We were just a few legends dorming it up together.
That's it. That's
living the frat life.
Very much so.
St. Vincent.
I heard you were a formidable player on the hoop court at St. Vincent too. The rumor has it back in the day.
Yeah, I can play a little bit. I still try to play, but it's I'm in my mid-40s now, so it's tough. It's tough to get around.
It gets a little bit tougher. He's got the height though, for sure. Does Jeremy Fowler? Well, thanks for taking the time, man. Let's jump into it here. I'm sure you know where we want to start. What's the latest on Aaron Rodgers? What are you hearing? Are we any closer to the finish line than the start of this thing?
I wish I could tell you there was some sort of 1 year or 2 year deal finalized right now, but I just don't sense a lot of momentum at the moment. That's not a reason to worry. I just, when I check with people with the team, they said, hey, hopefully we find some out before the draft, but there's really no firm timeline right now. So I think it's in the same place. I still expect him to be a Steeler. And, it seems like the relationship is good, and it was a good experience for him. And Mike McCarthy knows him well, but they haven't had to pivot yet to anything else. So it's just with Aaron Rodgers and his timelines for multiple off seasons, like it's always been an unpredictable proposition. So it's hard to really know exactly what to expect. I know they've done a pretty good amount of homework on this draft class. I don't know what that means. It's because it turned out to be not an overly strong one depth-wise, but, maybe in the middle rounds, did they look at somebody? And then, you have the Will Howard conversation. I mean, when you talk to people with the team, they do speak up Will Howard.
You think that's real, huh? Yeah. They're at least enthusiastic about him.
Probably, right. I think there are layers to it. It's a layer discussion. Do I think that they're high enough on him where he's got to start right now? No. But I was told they were really impressed by how he handles the huddle, how he handles the operation. Like, he was ahead of the game with that stuff, with, like, the nuances of the position. So because of that, they do like him. Now, do I think they're ready to start him? No. But, it's somewhere in the middle. Are they overselling him a little bit in the absence of Aaron Rodgers? Maybe. But I do think there's genuine interest in what he can do and how he can develop.
So you mentioned pivoting away from Rodgers. You didn't have any inclination that they were in on Kyler Murray, or they would go to a Cousins or a Carr or anything like that if Rodgers fell through? Or maybe that is a possibility at this point.
I just haven't heard anything hard and fast with that. I definitely don't think they were in on Kyler Murray or any of the quarterbacks that signed, Geno Smith. So,
you don't think Willis was ever across your mind really either, huh? That was the one I thought is different than all the rest.
Yeah, I think they evaluated it, but I never got the sense they were going to be in on it. It was really Miami, Arizona for that one was my sense all along.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
It'll be interesting to see what the Rams do because it looks like they'd like to bring back either Garoppolo or maybe sign Kirk Cousins as a backup. Whoever doesn't sign with the Rams, they'll still be out there. Does Pittsburgh just want to get
also
a guy?
Maybe Cousins to the Raiders.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah,
I do think, if we're playing dominoes, I know the Raiders were in talks with Joe Flacco before he signed with Cincinnati, but they just couldn't come to an agreement. So he's like, well, forget it. I'll just go play for Cincinnati again. So because of that, they can pivot to Cousins. I do think that might be the play. But does Pittsburgh want to get involved with one of those two guys is just to have an extra option? I still don't sense they are doing that, which tells me that it's probably going to be Rodgers, but we just don't have any evidence of that yet.
Do you think Carr will be in the league this year?
I don't.
Really? You don't think there's enough people banging down his door after a year off?
I think the window has passed, especially when you sit out a year. It was kind of a clumsy exit in New Orleans with the injury and the $30 million. I don't know. I don't sense teams are clamoring to sign him, no.
Okay.
Jeremy, 22 days until the NFL draft opens, of course, on the North Shore of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Go ahead and get in line for the tunnels now if you're trying to make it on time. Do you feel like with the sense that it's not the strongest draft class, and particularly at the quarterback position, we could see less movement, a more static draft this year than typical years?
Possibly. It really depends on how you view a Ty Simpson, for example. I've talked to teams who think he could go in round one, but it's tough because, not all teams value him as a first-round pick either as far as a grade, So does this go the way of Shedeur Sanders where he falls, or does he become an option kind of like Jackson Dart last year where he was ascending more toward the draft? Then you had the New York Giants come in the late first round to make a trade to get him. Could you see somebody do that? So I still think he'll probably go in the first somewhere, but I don't think it'll be high. I think it'll be more later. And – yeah, outside of that, there just aren't a lot of slam dunks. Garrett Nussmeier, I still think will be a day 2 pick somewhere. And if you go back to his 2024 tape, was pretty good. So Drew Aller at Penn State has a lot of ability, but a lot of questions. There's just a lot of polarizing prospects at that position. That's going to be more so for the mid rounds, mid to late rounds. I don't sense a lot of movement outside of Mendoza at 1.
Including the quarterback market, but I think overall, do you think it's safe to say that the league is coveting picks for next year's draft more than this year's draft?
It does
like
seem
if the
that
Steelers
way.
Can dump a third rounder for a second rounder next year, it might be harder to swing than you think.
It does seem that way. It's funny. I feel like I hear every year from other teams it's not a really strong draft, and they're only like 10
next
or
year's
12,
draft's better, right?
10 or 12 first-round picks, and next year's draft is better. Yeah, I feel like that's the conversation a lot. And this year's draft was supposed to be a good quarterback draft if you asked people 8 months ago.
Yep.
And then it wasn't. So it's always fluid. And, but I do sense, at least from a quarterback position, there's supposed to be more
options at least.
Yeah, just
first round.
Maybe a little more flair at the position than you have this year.
Jeremy Fowler with us here on The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio, the Steelers Audio Network. All right, Jeremy, one, both, or neither? Myles Garrett, A.J. Brown, trades from their current organization. One of those guys, both of those guys, neither of those guys playing for a new team in 26.
I'll say A.J. Brown traded. Myles Garrett stays. I mean, the Browns have been pretty, definitive, I think, in that they're not trading Myles Garrett. Maybe there's a little wiggle room there. It's just hard to believe because they're not a good team, and you figure he can go somewhere and win. But
really cash in on him now, yeah.
Yeah, just I don't know. It doesn't make a lot of sense for them to trade him. He's clearing away their best player. He's still good enough to help win games on his own at times. And the Browns do, even though they're in transition, they do expect to be better offensively this year. So it doesn't make a lot of sense. A.J. Brown, that's been building for months. I've talked to people with other teams back in October and November who were sort of projecting that they would have to trade him. And Howie Roseman's message this week is, well, A.J. Brown's an Eagle for now, and that's all I can say. Well, a month ago he was saying, you don't want to trade away really good players.
Yep.
So the tune is different now, where it seems like it's inevitable, I would say. It just depends on when. But I don't think he wants to be there either. So it just makes sense to move on at this point.
Last thing I got for you is along those lines, too, is do we think Max Crosby is now a Raider and not going anywhere?
Well, yes. I would say the draft is always a time where things can heat up a little bit. If we're talking about timelines, right now it's sort of dormant. Late April, does somebody make a move at him? try to buy low on him a little bit compared to what the Ravens would have given up with the 2 first-round picks. I don't think the Raiders want to do that at this point because they know they can't get a great return, and it didn't work out. You have the stigma of the knee issue, but then you also have a really good player back in your building. So it seems like both sides are willing to move forward with each other for now. And then, but you never know.
If it's like a trade deadline thing. The Lions call them at the trade deadline, and you can still have them.
Yeah, there's a scenario that is workable, right? If you go into the season, he shows he's healthy, training camp early in the year, playing really well.
Got 5 or 6 sacks.
Yeah, the knee's not an issue. Then maybe you do it at the deadline. I think that probably makes the most sense.
One more for you before we let you go, Jeremy. What's your temperature gauge, heat check on this standoff between the league and the NFL Referees Association? Are we going to have another replacement ref scenario? Is it still just in the posturing and the kind of narrative phase of this, and you think something will get done before the season? What's your confidence level on all this?
Man, well, I think it is some posturing going on, yes, but the league is prepared to hire replacement refs, and they're prepared to do it here pretty soon. So that does apply some pressure. It's complicated because those guys, I feel like, take more scrutiny now than they ever have.
Sure.
So I think as a result, they're fighting for their rights a little stronger, more fervently. So that's why it could take some time. It's a concern. It's probably the biggest concern here. The league has nudged people around it and inside it to not talk about this stuff, and but the negotiations haven't really gone anywhere. Usually you'd like to see at least a little progress by now. So I think that's the biggest concern. So anything's on the table with that. I mean, it feels possible that you could have issues here. And really, the bigger conversation is, the league office in New York has their kind of mothership now where they have 100 cameras. They got this big control room.
Yep.
They can start to make more calls. They're going to vote this week on whether they should be able to intercede on, let's say something unsportsmanlike that happened that they can identify and throw a flag on from New York. So it's going that way, and that's looming large in these discussions as well as how much influence will New York continue to have.
Great stuff as always. Jeremy Fowler, you see him all over the place. SportsCenter, NFL Live, ESPN.com. I assume you'll be in Pittsburgh here in a few weeks for the draft, obviously.
I don't think I will.
No?
Actually, I'm usually in Connecticut for the draft, just doing things
sense.
Locally. I'd love to, though. Man, I need to lobby for that.
Get back to your former stomping grounds.
Yeah, man.
It'll be nuts.
It's going to be fun. Great atmosphere.
It sure will. It sure will. Jeremy, thanks for taking the time, man. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Jeremy Fowler here to close down hour number 2, the bonus hour. Third hour of the show here from the Biltmore in Phoenix, Arizona on the other side. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson. It is The Drive, Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Bonus hour of The Drive here, hour number 3 inside the Biltmore. It is beautiful. The weather is fabulous. We are in Phoenix, Arizona, about 2,000 miles away from home for the 2026 annual NFL League meetings.
I just had to step outside for a couple minutes and just get a little bit of sun. It felt great.
It's
warm my bones. Right.
It really is. And again, I know we've relayed this message, but it is a 3-hour show, and the audience checks in and checks out throughout the time. Man, we had a rough winter in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, it was.
Winters in Pittsburgh aren't typically light, but this one was extra heavy. More snow than usual, more single degree temperature days than usual. So yeah, we land here and it's 70s and 80s and sunny every single day and not a cloud in the sky. It looks like spring break outside. It's fantastic.
It's definitely a different climate. Yeah.
It certainly is, and one that, again, maybe all the time, maybe if this was the middle of June, we'd be like, oh man, this is too much. But from the winter that we're just coming out of here is certainly,
and the mountains in the background. It's just clear and so much sun.
It's beautiful.
And a cloud in the sky, as you mentioned.
This is my first time in Phoenix, Matt, and it reminds me a little bit of Las Vegas, but a little bit bigger, a little bit nicer, a little bit cleaner.
Yeah,
but that same kind of like you're flying.
Nice commercial, obviously.
Yes, you're flying into the desert. It's like a beautiful surroundings. You can see the mountains all around the city.
Yeah,
and
like
everything.
the hour coming in was pretty cool.
It was pretty cool. Yeah, and so we're having a lot of fun here. Great people here at the Biltmore taking care of us. We're looking forward to this dinner this evening here. That's going to be a heck of a show, I've been told. And then we will have our third and final day of coverage here tomorrow before we travel back to Pittsburgh for the back half of the week. Matt, we are going to get to
draft is right around the corner.
24 days.
24. Wow.
24 days away. That's crazy. I mean, that's just a shade over 3 weeks. We'll be at the 3-week mark on this Thursday. And so, man, it happens quick. It gets back to that whole, like, I referenced it earlier in the show, but it used to be kind of like an inside joke that Moats and I had on the Steelers Blitz was like, oh, in the NFL, you got plenty of time.
Oh, don't worry. Yeah.
When in reality, the next thing is always 3 weeks away.
It's always fast, right? You better be prepared.
And then after the draft, it'll be rookie minicamp, and then it'll be minicamp and OTAs.
Rookie minicamp comes like that too.
Real quick.
Those guys are acclimated right away.
Real quick. And then before we know it, it'll be late July. We'll all be back out in our summer home in Latrobe and getting ready for another season of Steelers football, the first year of Mike McCarthy, and just all the different storylines that are to come here. Matt, one of the storylines staring us down the face is the Pittsburgh Steelers, the draft, obviously being on the North Shore of Pittsburgh, as we all know, for the first time. It's going to be chaos, but it's going to be a lot of fun. And the Steelers with their 12 draft picks in this upcoming draft. Matt Miller of ESPN.com did his first and ESPN's first full 7-round mock draft.
Whoa.
Now, Matt,
That's an insane endeavor.
That's an insane endeavor, I think.
Good for him.
Good for him. And, all the 12 picks for the Steelers are here. I don't need to roll through all 12 of these names and who he's predicting that the Steelers are going to.
I wouldn't mind hearing them.
Okay, well,
we're going to spend a ton of time on them and something we might not even know, but yeah.
But what I like about this, and we really typically only reference these mock exercises if it's something different, if it's something outside of the box.
Yeah,
if it's names
we're not going to cite every mock on the internet.
Exactly right. And a lot of them have had the Steelers taking similar guys. But this one, pretty different. He's got all 12 Steelers picks, and most of them, they're names that we've discussed but haven't necessarily in our own mocks or our own conversations pigeonholed for the Steelers.
Okay. I'm interested. I didn't know this was out.
So pick 21 here for the Steelers. Caden Proctor, the offensive tackle out of Alabama.
Yeah, he's one of the – I've got about 4 or 5 names at the O-line spots that I think should be in play. And somebody that could probably start year one at guard, maybe stay there and be great, or maybe go out and challenge at left tackle a year from now. And Proctor's one of them. One of the reasons I haven't brought him up quite as much as Max or Fano or those dudes.
Venga,
but I don't know. The thing about Venga is I don't think he can bounce out to left. He's going to stay there at left guard.
He might have the highest ceiling at guard of all those guys, but he doesn't project to potentially play tackle one day.
Yeah, but I do think the Hoffman signing just reiterated what the Steelers are looking for under McCarthy at the O-line position is more movement. The only reason Dallas didn't bring him back is because they're looking for like the biggest line in the league, and Hoffman's 300-ish pounds and can struggle to hold a lot of weight. He's not a behemoth like Proctor or the guys Dallas has.
Proctor's 6'7", 350 pounds.
I mean, he's crazy big. Now, I just wonder, does he fit the movement, athleticism requirements or guidelines they're looking for in Pittsburgh? Because he is not slow-footed or not athletic, but I don't think he's out of the equation.
I don't either. You said it right. We haven't mentioned him as much as obviously Venga Ioane from Penn State, Fanu from Utah, Maxie and Nate Shore from Arizona State. Had some fun conversation with him with some Sun Devils at the baseball.
Think about that.
Baseball game because they were like Jordan Tyson and Ian H. are going to end, or they asked me about Tyson. They said, is Jordan Tyson going to end up in the black and gold? And I was like, I don't know, but I would like to see Maxie and H. end up there. And they were like, oh, really? I was like, we love that guy. So
they got a linebacker, they got a safety.
They sure do.
They have a very underrated linebacker.
But Proctor's another one that's in that conversation.
I think so.
Could be a versatile
fit that
piece,
bill, right? I would totally
ceiling,
understand it, right?
And could be available right in that range where the Steelers pick at 21. 53. This one really raised my eyebrows, Matt. Garrett Nussmeier, quarterback out of LSU, for the Steelers' 2nd overall pick.
Yeah, I've gone down this road a lot because he's my quarterback 3 behind Simpson and obviously.
And I think pretty, not unanimously, but pretty consistently.
Consensus.
Yeah. Yes.
And I 100% get it. And I was listening to a podcast that Greg Cosell was on this morning, just talking about his tape from a year ago, and he 1,000% thought Nussmeier, based off 2024 tape, is a NFL starting quarterback. That doesn't mean he's the best in the league, but I mean he's an NFL starting quarterback. which is a lot of praise. I mean, that's not you don't throw those terms around, and that doesn't mean he's just one of 32. Like he's a legit dude.
Yes.
And I 100% get that. And boy, he definitely played through a lot of injuries that hurt his stock and changed his motion and core body injuries and things of that nature. And they have a great connection with his dad. So I could see this pick because I bet they're high on him, and I guarantee they know more about him. I'd just be so much more comfortable with the third round.
Same here.
You know what I mean?
If it's any of those third-round picks, I'd be like, okay.
Yeah.
53,
or even if you combine two of them to move up in the third round or something like that. I just don't want to pass on a receiver after going O-line
and
to take him.
That's where I was going to go. Like, for the purpose of this exercise, right after 53, the Eagles take Antonio Williams, the wide receiver out of Clemson.
Okay.
A few picks later, the Jags take Jacob Rodriguez, linebacker out of Texas Tech, that we've talked a lot about. I wanted to see what other Maxey and H.R. goes 63 to the Patriots.
I mean, if you took Proctor, you probably wouldn't double down. But
sure.
I mean, if you knew, I'd be.
Chris Bell still on the board out of Louisville.
Yeah.
Malachi Fields still on the board. Yeah. So that was the only thing for me is, man, there's some real names there that you would like after him that could certainly have a much more tangible impact on your immediate 2026 season and results.
Sure. Or you might look back at it in 5 years and, like, you drafted a starting quarterback in the second round, and that's a steal.
No doubt. No doubt. So Caden Proctor, 21st. Garrett Nussmeier, quarterback out of LSU, 53. With the 3 third-round picks. Jennings Dunker, the guard from Iowa, 76th overall.
Okay. And there's maybe right tackle, maybe guard. I'd lean towards guard. Shocked that – not that I'm all-knowing by any stretch, but, like, I'm shocked that anybody else would double down on O-line that early.
Right,
That's something that's kind of one of my moves. Again, I can't go 3 picks without a wideout.
Oh.
And I don't have a problem with any one of the 3 players.
That's where I'm at, too.
Yeah, you can't
And as much as you and I think that there's good wideouts all throughout this draft available.
You can't wait forever.
You can't wait for at least, your 4th pick here. But,
yeah,
because I have no problem with the 3 players selected here.
Sure. And I think the value's fine for all of them and all that stuff. It's just I can't go this long without a number 3 receiver on my team.
Exactly right. And then at pick 85, Matt, third round, pick B in the third round, Tyler Odiedim, the defensive tackle out of A&M. So defensive line there with the 4th pick at 85. Saying basically Cam Hayward's 37. So, yeah, they added Sebastian Joseph Day, but he's 31. This is about the future of the defensive line.
Okay. He's not a player I know a ton about. I've not seen anyone else project him to the third round.
I was going to say, this is probably the highest I've seen him go.
Yeah.
And the first time I've seen him mentioned in the Steelers conversation.
And when I see a name like that, March, early April, I'm going to go dig into him more. Yeah, I mean, I just haven't – I know I haven't done a lot of work on him. So I'm interested. But, again, I don't know that D-line is going to get addressed that early because I don't think any of the players are really absolutely worth it. I mean, unless Banks would happen to fall or something crazy like that.
Sure.
And, again, can't say it's enough. I mean, you can't go 4 picks without taking a wideout.
You definitely can't go 4.
No.
3, I don't think you can. You definitely can't go 4. So
I'd have a hard time going 2.
At pick 99, 5th overall pick, 3rd of the third round, finally has the Steelers selecting a wide receiver, Chris Brazzell, the 2nd out of Tennessee.
Oh,
Which to get him at pick 99 would be good value. I would sign up. I would sign up for that part of this right now.
You stole the words out of my mouth. I'll trade you 99 for Brazzell this second.
Today, tomorrow, any of the 24 days between now and the draft.
I think there's a better chance he sneaks into round 1 than lasts till end of round 3.
Pick 99.
Right.
Yeah.
But that would be wonderful. But that would alleviate the problems. Not that he's the total answer, but
sure,
getting him that late would be wow.
Yes, it would be. It would certainly be wow. So that's 5 of the Steelers' 12. Here's where else they have it playing out. Pick 121 for the Steelers. Jacoby Thomas, the safety from the U.
Okay. Older player, really good player, safety / slot. Sign me up for that too.
So that's pick 6. Let's see here. Pick 7, Katron Allen, running back from Penn State. We've talked about him a little bit with Jack Ham last week.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, he's not super dynamic. He would not be a home run Pro Bowl type guy, but coaches love him because he does all the dirty work, grinder, good in protection, solid player. I could see him developing some special team skills, just kind of knowing his background and the way he plays the game. They have so many picks that after a while, what's funny is like if you publish a mock draft or if you throw something out there like this and you have the Steelers taking a running back, why on earth would they take a running back? Because they got a million picks.
They got 12
and what
picks.
else? You got to take? We're going to take 5 receivers, you know.
And you need some competition for Caleb Johnson. You can't just give him the third running back position. Up next is Trey Moore, edge rusher from Texas.
Okay. I don't know that edge would be in the mix.
I don't either, but hey, maybe if,
It's the same argument if you have a million picks.
Exactly right. Exactly
and one you love's there.
Pick 216 for the Steelers, Colin Wright, the corner out of Stanford.
Okay. Don't know a lot about him, and this is a part of the draft that I'm still getting pretty deep.
Yes.
But, yeah, I mean, a corner in this neighborhood to me would make some sense.
Now, this is funny. Into the 7th round, pick 224, the Steelers select Caleb Proctor. Another one, the defensive tackle from southeastern Louisiana.
He had to do that on purpose.
Wouldn't that be hilarious if the Steelers drafted a Caden Proctor and then a Caleb Proctor, both on different sides of the ball?
I don't know if they're related or not.
That's
He's
fantastic.
a D tackle.
He's a D tackle.
Okay.
Yeah, and I know.
I would have done that on purpose if I were Matt Miller in that one. Just chuckle to yourself and see if anyone notices.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. That made me laugh. And then 2 more here. Julian Neal, cornerback from Arkansas.
Okay. I've seen him projected a lot higher than that, 4th, 5th round.
And then Isaiah World, the offensive tackle out of Oregon.
So he's a dude that I actually know a fair amount about because he was highly, highly recruited, highly regarded, and his tape's just bad. I mean, he gets beat a lot. But there's height, weight, speed, and traits and all those things, and he is, the traits of a starting offensive tackle. Chances are that he won't get there based off what we've seen on film. But to roll the dice there and maybe sit him on the practice squad for a year and develop him and get a new offensive line coach to work with him and who knows, figure out what the problems were, and maybe he never gets heard from again, but that's a great dice roll.
I
mean, you're talking about a 7th rounder there, right?
You're talking about a 7th rounder, your last pick. He's 6'8".
That's huge,
320. Had a little bit of I think part of the reason why he falls to the 7th round is he didn't participate in the combine because of a ACL concern.
Right.
So
maybe he just redshirts his entire rookie year and go from there.
And if that's your 12th pick, you're taking a flyer on a guy like that, fine.
And what's actually kind of nice is maybe even put somebody like that on IR, so he doesn't have to clear waivers, he doesn't have to go to the practice squad, and then next preseason, not this upcoming one, he plays a ton and be like, oh, maybe he can stick with it. Yeah, maybe he can stick.
Yes. Just wanted to look at the top of his projections here too, Matt, quickly before we go to break. Fernando Mendoza first to the Raiders, no shocker there.
I'm curious what was on the board at 21.
Arvell Reese, second to the Jets. That's starting to become pretty chalky, as it feels like is Francis Mauigoa going third to the Cardinals. Jeremiah Love, 4th to the Tennessee Titans.
Okay.
That feels like one of the real wild cards here in the top 10. If he goes there, I think that's good for the Steelers.
I think he goes 4, 5, 6.
I can't see him getting out of the top 10, certainly. I don't think he goes to Kansas City potentially at 9 anymore now that they have Kenneth Walker.
No, I think he's gone by then.
But Jeremiah Love, 4th to the Titans. Great piece there for Cam Ward in that offense. Caleb Downs, 5th to the Giants.
I totally understand.
Should ask John Harbaugh when I bumped into him walking in here today what he thinks about Caleb.
Downs,
What do you think about those Ohio State safeties, Coach? Number 6, another Ohio State guy, Carnell Tate, wide receiver, goes to the Browns at 6.
Very possible.
They need a lot of help on that offense.
They do.
That will be a good piece. 7, the Commanders take Mansour Delane. That's the highest I think we've seen him mocked, the corner out of LSU.
A little rich for my blood, but.
Number 8, the Saints take edge rusher from Texas Tech, David Bailey.
I would think they'd be quite happy with that.
Number 9, back-to-back edge rushers off the board. The Chiefs take Reuben Bain Jr. out of Miami.
I think he's going to go in the top 10 when it's all said and done.
I think so, too. The arm length is a concern, but other than that, he checks a lot of boxes.
Really good,
10, I think the Bengals would love this. They might even sign for this in blood right now. Sonny Styles falls there to Cincinnati at 10.
That's the dream pick for them.
That is the dream pick for them. 11, Mekhi Lemon becomes the second wide receiver off the board. He goes to the Dolphins. A nice piece from Malik Willis.
Good start. Yeah.
He needs something there. 12th, Jermod McCoy, cornerback out of Tennessee, who will finally see him run
tomorrow,
Tuesday at his pro day. the first time in 14 months that he's done anything really since tearing his ACL.
It's obviously critical for him.
Oh, his 2024 tape is incredible. But the last time he played a game was against Will Howard and Jack Sawyer in Ohio State all the way back in January of 2025.
So maybe we'll start to see him projected in this neighborhood over and over.
Especially if he runs well tomorrow.
Yeah.
13, Spencer Fanu, the tackle guard out of Utah, goes to the Rams. 14, oh man, I wouldn't like this. Kenyon Sadiq, the tight end from Oregon, ends up with the Ravens. 15th, C.J. Allen, linebacker.
I'd jump on that if I were them.
Yeah, he could be one of the top 5 or 6 players in this draft.
Yeah.
15, the Bucs take C.J. Allen, the linebacker out of Georgia. Of course,
a little early, but big need.
But Levante David just retired.
Yeah.
16, this is the Jets pick from the Sauce Gardner trade with the Colts. They take Jordan Tyson. So 3 wide receivers off the board there in the top 16.
I was curious what receivers the Steelers would have been looking at.
Yeah, the Arizona State guy from just about 6 or 7 miles down the road here, as I can attest to from last night.
Popular in this neck of the woods.
Number 17, Detroit Lions take Monroe Freeling, the true left tackle out of Georgia.
Yeah.
I think that much like we said with Cincinnati, I think they might sign in blood for that right now.
Yes.
This, too, is starting to become a very popular mock. The Minnesota Vikings take Dylan Theneman, safety, out of Oregon.
Real chalky, yeah.
Replace Harrison Smith. 19, Venga Ioane, guard out of Penn State.
I was curious if he was out there. Okay.
And then 20, right before the Steelers, the Cowboys take Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, the safety, out of Toledo.
Okay. Yeah, and in that scenario, I wouldn't have no problem with Proctor. I mean, everyone knows I like Ian Chor a lot, but, I mean, still, Proctor makes a ton of sense there.
He sure does. The real shocker of this whole thing to me was Caleb Banks going 31st to the Patriots. I feel like he's way more likely in day 2 than he is day 1 now, with a lot of the health concerns and things like that. But we caught up with our buddy Max Starks. Funny enough, Max is here, but he's on radio with Sirius XM the same exact time that you and I.
The exact same time,
exact 3 hours. But he said, text me next week. He'll do a phone segment with us. We can talk about the Florida guys. We can talk about the offensive line stuff.
Yeah.
So we'll catch up with Max soon. That is our kind of mock draft look here in our bonus hour. We have gotten about 1.5 bazillion tweets in the last 24 hours or so from our owners' meetings coverage, leagues meeting coverage. We'll get to some of those as we roll along here in hour number 3, the bonus hour of the drive from the Biltmore in Phoenix, Arizona, on location for the league meetings. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson, Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Down the home stretch here on day number 2. I guess we're a little over the halfway point, Matt, of our league meetings coverage here. This is the bonus third hour of today. We will be back tomorrow, Tuesday, for another 3-hour award-winning edition of The Drive, which will be, I think we'll have plenty of, today, Matt, the news that we discussed was mostly league-wide stuff.
Yeah.
And then, some Myles Garrett and A.J. Brown and some trade stuff. But tomorrow, Mike McCarthy will be speaking at the breakfast here bright and early in the morning, so we'll have some of that. Also throughout the day, Omar Khan and Mr. Rooney are going to speak to the Pittsburgh media as well.
So, a lot of Steelers-centric stuff tomorrow.
Tomorrow, I think, will be our most Steelers-centric day of this 3 days that we're doing out here.
Absolutely.
And I know that will
there'll be a lot of good stuff to talk about tomorrow.
Yeah, that'll be music to our listeners' ears. And yes, so we're looking forward to for all of that. So let's go to the tweets. We've been kind of doing this to close down our shows for the last few weeks.
You guys are participating in a big way too.
We made this a thing where we were just doing a X Twitter, as Dale would have called it, segment to close up our shows. But we were getting so many tweets, we turned it into 2 segments.
And we got a 3-hour show.
We got a 3-hour show.
Yeah.
It's the off season too, so there's not as much, immediate things that we have to discuss like we do during the regular season. And as long as you all participate and enjoy it, we will continue to welcome your participation. Sudesh leads us off here today. He says, I'm glad you guys have access to real Mexican food for a couple of days. We do as well, too,
good,
Sudesh. Yeah. I was driving back from the baseball game last night, Matt. I was talking to my Uber driver, and about Pittsburgh and the weather and all that stuff. And I was like, man, we've gone out for Mexican food twice already, and I'm sure we will a couple more times. And she was like, you don't have good Mexican food in Pittsburgh? I was like, no.
I mean, there's some, but
no.
Yeah, it's not like here.
The Italian scene's great. The Asian scene's great in Pittsburgh. There's really good food in Pittsburgh, just not Mexican food like there is here.
Oh, it's not even close, yeah.
Sudesh adds, I love the idea of extending Cook and Spencer Anderson as well as potentially drafting 1 or 2 offensive linemen.
Yeah, just get a bunch.
But I need to know who are the interior defensive linemen in this draft class that you guys fancy.
I don't.
I fancy some as day 2 picks.
No one on day 1.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a diamond in the rough in the 4th round, 3rd round, something like that. I just don't see a lot of difference makers. And I think you can live with the D-line you have right now.
I think you can too. And I think that's a good way for you to put it, difference makers. But there are guys that I think could be a nice fit, albeit not a drastic position of need for the Steelers. I wouldn't spend the 53rd overall pick to do it. But I do.
Banks is the only one.
I do. Banks is obviously the one with the huge upside.
Yeah.
But I do like Lee Hunter. I think there's a lot to like in his game.
If he was a 53rd pick, I would understand it.
I know that they don't need the pure nosy-ish guys as much anymore. But I do like Big Citrus, Dominique Orange out of Iowa State. I think Caden McDonald from Ohio State is going to go way too early for our liking.
If you took him at 53, I'd be like, great. But I just don't think that's going to happen. It's realistic.
Yes.
I just don't see where that marries up.
Same. Peter Woods is not for us. We've had that conversation a few times.
Yeah, and I don't think he fits what they're looking for.
No, I like Dante Corleone, but he would have to be a later.
Like if you said I grabbed him in the 4th round, I'd be like, oh, cool.
Sure.
Okay, that's exciting. Yeah,
Beginning of day 3, absolutely.
Yeah.
But
there's a shortage, and I think they're going to go a little earlier than you like. But I bet, it wouldn't shock me if they took, they used a pick on one, a defensive lineman of some sort. Push the Logan Lees and those type of guys.
Yes, exactly right. Which and that's a lot of times that's what those later picks are about too. Is about bringing in competition for camp.
Yeah. Let a couple guys battle it out. And hopefully somebody shines.
Exactly right. The old 2 dogs, 1 bone adage, right? Pittsburgh Steel tweets us and says, question for the drive. Love the show. Well, thank you. We appreciate that. It's always good to butter us up in these tweets, too.
Yeah.
Tell us how
better
much,
chance we pick you.
Tell us how much you love us. Did a mock draft over the weekend where I traded pick 53, 75, and 135 to Chicago for 57 and 60. Is that a fair trade? Something you would consider? So basically, you moved back.
Moved back a couple spots.
Moved back 4 spots in the 2nd round. Gave away your first 3rd round pick, but you picked up an extra 2nd rounder in the process. So you end up having 2 2nd round picks and 2 3rd round picks.
It seems fair. The move back is not that drastic. So basically, you're saying, is it worth taking 2 of those thirds to get a late 2nd? It's hard to comment. Depends what's out there, of course. But I could see a move like that being something they pursue.
And to kind of, piggyback, we discussed this a little bit with Jeremy Fowler. I don't think there's going to be nearly as much movement as we see in the 1st round of the NFL draft typically. There's not the quarterbacks to trade for.
Yeah, I just don't know who the targets will be to come up for.
There's not a Travis Hunter type, crazy blue chip prospect. But I think in the 2nd and 3rd round, the day 2, I think we'll see a lot more day 2 trades than usual. So
I can see that.
Day 1, the movement will be down.
Yeah.
Day 2, it'll be up because I think that is, as we've discussed, the sweet spot for so many of these position groups that do feel like
you
they're
might
strong.
pay a little more to grab the guy that, he's still sitting there, and I love him, and I have a higher grade than the rest of the league. Yeah, I don't think that's crazy talk either.
Sean McVay just walked past.
I did?
Yeah, we just walked into that room right there with the big "Do Not Enter" sign on it across from us.
Well, who does he think he is walking in there?
That was funny to me because I think that's the first time I've ever seen him. I've been doing this this now forever, but the Rams don't send people anywhere, so you never see any of their guys. I'm like, oh, that's Sean McVay. I don't know if I've ever seen him walk past.
You'll see him at the party tonight.
Oh, I bet I will.
Yeah.
He was wearing a nice blue suit there.
He looked good.
I'm sure he's ready to go for this evening. RJ tweets
us. Wonder why no one can enter in there.
Maybe they're shooting some.
Apparently, you're right.
That's the room where the coaches' breakfast is, too.
And it's been empty basically since.
And I was hoping that they were going to have the stuff set up for tomorrow because I was going to grab a nice stock picture of the Mike McCarthy table to put out there on the social content for everybody. But we'll see. We'll see before we can get out of here. Matt's also going to try and sneak into the Nike apparel room before we get out of here.
We'll see how that goes.
See if he can grab us some swag. I've heard all in the past about all the Nike swag. I gotta get me some here this year. RJ tweets and asks, If the Steelers draft 2 wide receivers, what do you guys think that means for Roman Wilson? Is he a trade candidate, cut candidate, keep him as a depth piece? What do you think?
Well, I think they'll keep 6 on the roster, and right now I only see 3 that are pretty much guaranteed spots. Pittman, Metcalf, Skoranek.
Okay.
So could you draft 2 and keep Wilson? Sure. I mean, if he's good.
Absolutely.
I don't think if you dangled him in trade the day after the draft, you're going to get the return you're looking for. You're getting like a 6th-round pick from a team that liked him 2 years ago. I mean, he's put nothing on tape to.
I know.
Yeah. So I think you bring him to camp, coach him up, and hope he's good.
Who would have, and maybe this is a dumb question because the answer is neither, but between Roman Wilson and Caleb Johnson, do you think there's one that would clearly be more attractive to the rest of the league?
Johnson's only 1 year removed.
That was my only thought process. Yeah.
Status. I mean, again, both players would have to be a team that really liked them coming out. Not that one would be better than the other, but being 1 year removed makes that more likely. But I still think it's driving the new car off the lot. I think a team's going to offer you a 6th-round pick.
That's a great example.
Yeah. It's
the second you drive that thing off the lot, it's worth way less than it was 10 minutes earlier.
And there's what wear and tear is on Johnson's tires or whatnot? Very little. I mean, he's not much of a different human being.
Matters.
Right.
Yeah.
But no one's going to give you close to what you paid for it.
No.
I mean, at this stage, bring them both to camp and hope that they're the player you thought you drafted.
I think that's the more valuable, is that one of them proves that they belong and put their hand in the pile, as opposed to you pick up a late day 3 pick for one of them.
If either one can have rosterable value, that's better than another future 6.
Yes.
Yes,
completely agree. Let's see here. California Bound tweets us. Hey, we're not too far away. Couple, just a. I think
stop by and see us.
I think about a 90-minute drive to the California state line from here. Not too far away. What are the odds that the Steelers draft an offensive lineman, particularly a tackle, in the first round? There's so much to be said to have that position solidified prior to drafting your quarterback of the future, or would you try and wait until later rounds? California Bound, I don't know how often you listen to this show, but this is something that has been a theme of Matt and I both agree. When you are shopping for left tackles, when you are shopping tackles in general, but particularly left tackles, when you're shopping for quarterbacks, those are luxury items.
Well, there's expensive items.
You don't go to the bargain bin.
No, right, agreed.
You don't go to the 99-cent store. Okay, you go to Whole Foods and you get the best of the best.
Very best.
You don't go to the used car dealership. You go to Mercedes-Benz and BMW and Porsche and Audi, and you're looking for luxury. You're looking for top-of-the-line, expensive, and it's very difficult. Matt and I both agree. Our worst-case scenario for the Steelers is that we're sitting here a year from now staring down the 2027 NFL draft, and you need a left tackle and a quarterback.
Yeah, because it's almost an impossible task, especially if you're going to have to move up in the first round and use your second-round pick to move up. And so the short answer to the question is I think it's very probable. Doesn't mean they would be your starting left tackle week 1. Maybe they would play left guard or be in the mix or fight with Cook or whatever. But I think a left side of the line player is going to be a priority, and maybe 2 of them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think one early. Not saying it necessarily has to be the first round.
No.
But, man, the more and more we go through all these scenarios, it feels like that's the most likely position to be there at 21.
And there's some good guys available probably in that neighborhood.
Yes, whereas you could be on wide receiver 5 by the time pick 21 rolls around. There could be 3 or 4 of those guys off the board.
Yes.
And there certainly could be for the offensive line, too, but it feels like a deeper group.
And I also think the day 2 receivers are way more attractive than the day 2 tackles for sure, and probably the day 2 linemen.
I'm with you on that one.
Yeah.
Day 2 receivers are one of the more attractive groups, I think, just overall in terms of value potentially for this draft that begins 24
And every draft's
days from
different,
now.
but I urge people just to look around and see all the wide receivers that are drafted on day 2 that are starting and productive as opposed to all the tackles that were drafted on day 2 that are starting and productive. It's not even close.
It's a vastly
not even close.
Different world between those two. Annie tweets us and says, oh, this is an interesting one. You hear, about how players fall in the draft. Do players actually fall in the draft, or is that just a reflection of outsider expectations versus the team's actual value and draft boards and what they think in-house?
Yeah, like I get a kick out of And all draft analysts
like
do
Shedeur
it.
Sanders last year.
Yeah. But, I mean, almost the opposite happens this time of year. Oh, this guy's a big riser. Well, that just means, like, Daniel Jeremiah and Todd McShay are talking to teams that have loved this guy since the start. And they start to get tuned in that, oh, he's not rising. He didn't do anything different to change his outlook or his,
Yeah, they're not playing games this time of year. Spoiler alert.
No. So, sometimes risers in the mock draft world just means the mock drafters were a little late to the party, which that's not their fault. I mean, that's the way that works. And I think the same thing's true about Fowlers. Now, Fowlers are different because so much of Fowlers are from things we don't know.
Absolutely.
And it's character, it's off the field, it's
medical
work
sometimes
ethic,
stuff
and
too that
especially
no one's heard about.
And especially medical. Like, dude's got a knee. We think he's a second-round player. I'm not taking a second-round player.
He might only last for 4 years in this league.
And why is he falling to the fifth? It's almost always those reasons.
Let's see here. A couple questions from Jeff. First of all, he says, no replacement refs. Please get a deal done. Would you guys consider adding one more wide receiver in free agency and then one being the draft? Is there anybody that fits that bill? Also, any rumors out there at the meetings about discussions on an 18-game season being in the cards in the next couple years?
I haven't heard a lot of that yet, but
I would think it. I think it is. Yes.
Yeah.
We haven't heard that directly, but that's got to be something that is being discussed.
And to pull back the curtain too, I mean, we've been sitting here not just mingling with everybody, and like the party tonight. I'm sure things will be like, the 18-game schedule's coming up. I feel like that's a foregone conclusion. I don't have a great free agent target wide receiver that, boy, I'm super excited about, but I also haven't studied that list. I would think that's probably an after the draft thing. If the draft's only 24 days away, see how the draft goes. Maybe you look at I'm going to bring one more guy in for competition, and Wilson or this free agent will get a roster spot or something like that.
Yeah.
Or someone gets cut because of cap reasons or.
Exactly right. Exactly right. That's all kind of just the stuff that you have to, I think.
Mm-hmm. I kind of think they're done between now and draft.
I think so too.
In terms of free agents, not name Aaron Rodgers.
I was just gonna say with the one exception potentially being the quarterback, without a doubt. I mean, I think we would all like to have that resolved here sooner rather than later.
Yes,
I think is the best way to put it. Is certainly the best way to put it. Let's see here. We got time for one more before we take a break. Josiah tweets us and says, like when you guys talk about the prospects that are on Bruce Feldman's freaks list, I think it would be an interesting segment to go back through some of the past years and see how the freaks turned out in the NFL.
Oh, okay.
That's a pretty good call, actually.
Yeah, it would be a fun exercise. Maybe that's a well past the draft, quiet time of the year
May or
project.
June when we could kill an hour. I'll keep that one bookmarked though, Josiah.
I like that idea.
That's a good question. You know who I know, like just off the top of my head? I remember Micah Parsons was crazy high on his freaks list.
There's actually a lot of Penn State guys in general.
It is funny how that works. It's almost like Penn State.
Really good testers.
At least James Franklin had a type when he was recruiting.
They always have athletes that always test well.
Always have athletes that test very well. I remember Micah Parsons being crazy high on his list. That's one that I can remember being an absolute hit. I do remember Johnny Manziel was pretty high on his list, and that was one that was one that was a pretty big miss.
Right.
So those are ones.
But it wasn't because of lack of athleticism.
Exactly. Right. Exactly right. Those are ones kind of off the top of my head, but like I said, Josiah, I'll keep that bookmarked, and maybe
that's a good project for the summer.
Maybe sometime here post draft, and we have
go look at the 2022 freak list.
Yeah,
like who hit, who didn't.
Who hit, who didn't. Yeah, no, that's a great call.
Because a lot of those guys are actually not even draft eligible.
Right.
Especially the one that comes out before the season.
Yes, because they're not just draft eligible guys. They're all throughout.
Who are the biggest freaks in college football?
Like Josiah Smith has been on that list for, Jeremiah Smith, the wide receiver from Ohio State that's going to be a top 3 pick next year, has been on that list since he was a freshman. Over and over these past 2 seasons. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson, it's all part of our ongoing NFL League Owners Meetings coverage here on The Drive, Steelers Nation Radio, on the Steelers Audio Network.